it's going to give tens of thousands of people every single day an opportunity to commute without being stuck in gridlock.
This is a big hole that is filled in our transit system. We're getting closer to the point where you can get almost anywhere without having to get in your car. And I think once that happens, traffic is going to dramatically improve.
The trains will run every 12 minutes each day. There are 7 new stations, 3 with park and ride facilities.
The smoothest, quickest 12 minutes from Culver City to Santa Monica I've ever had.
This marks the first time passenger trains have run from downtown LA to the Pacific Ocean in 6 decades. I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Now it'll take Metro riders about 45 minutes to get from downtown LA to Santa Monica. Well, the city of LA is hiring and wants U.S. veterans and other select groups to apply first. Gil Reyes reports on the mayor's executive directive to fill thousands of civil service jobs.
The city braces for a shortage of workers. Within 2 years, nearly half of civilian employees hired by the city, like tree trimmers, will be eligible for retirement. At the same time, many positions remain unfilled following layoffs from the Great Recession. But now a plan.
Rebuilding that workforce, bringing services back to our constituents, and finally beginning to restore the kind of government service that our constituents deserve.
LA City leaders gathered outside City Hall for the signing of Mayor Eric Garcetti's executive directive. It sets a goal of hiring 5,000 new civilian workers over the next 3 years, now that the recession is behind us. It also instructs city departments to prioritize the disadvantaged when hiring.
Communities like our unsheltered, communities like formerly incarcerated Angelenos, veterans, and our disconnected youth, those youth between 16 and 24 who are not in school but don't have jobs.
The directive builds on the city's new contract with the coalition of LA City unions. They represent tree trimmers, 911 dispatchers, crossing guards, and so much more. Many of those positions were cut during the economic downturn of 2008. The executive directive seeks to restore many of those jobs.
And I'm also very supportive of how this executive directive to managers emphasizes an attempt to move part-time workers to full-time whenever practical. That's something I've been calling for us to change since I got here.
The directive calls on nonprofits, universities, and religious groups to seek out those disadvantaged job seekers and refer them to positions. Outside City Hall, Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Outreach to help fill those city jobs will be conducted by groups like the Watts Gang Task Force and Inner City Struggle. While renovations continue at LAX as new airline routes are added to enhance the passenger experience. Rasha Goel has more on the latest airline flying in.
After a 22-year hiatus, Thomas Cook Airlines is now operating out of LAX. The airline offers a direct flight from northwestern England to the West Coast. LAX recently celebrated the inaugural flight.
Manchester is LAX's third United Kingdom with non-stop air service. The route will help meet the growing demand of travelers between our two cities that share cultural, academic, and economic ties that benefit both cities.
And for example, every time the Thomas Cook aircraft lands here in Los Angeles, it injects at least $250,000 every time, every landing, into the local economy.
Thomas Cook Airlines will fly from Los Angeles to Manchester, England, offering a way for travelers to get into northwestern England faster.
Normally I go through Heathrow and there's usually a 4 or 5 hour layover just to get back to Manchester. So I've been waiting for this flight for like over 30 years.
The service is fantastic. I love it, and we keep coming back to them every year.
Currently, Thomas Cook Airlines offers 2 flights a week and is a seasonal flight which will only operate until October, but it will return next spring and give passengers an opportunity to choose from more flight options.
But it's very much the model of Thomas Cook Airlines to put on more service in the second season.
Thomas Cook Airlines is the largest transatlantic airline out of Manchester. From LAX, I'm Rasha Goel for LA This Week.
Officials say Thomas Cook Airlines is the largest transatlantic airline to fly out of Manchester. while taking a few crucial steps could ensure better odds of survival for you and your family in a large-scale emergency. Ana Marcos shows us a South LA community is doing just that as the city takes part in America's annual Prepare-a-thon event.
In a real-life mass disaster, chances are your community may see few of these guys, the real-life firefighters, and a lot more of these, CERTs, or Community Emergency Response Teams. Regular citizens like you and me, trained by LA firefighters to jump into action when disaster strikes.
In a large-scale emergency, your infrastructure is going to be destroyed. Your water mains will be blown up in the street. Your roads will be impassable. It may be hours, days, or a week, and that's why we tell people, be prepared to be able to survive on your own.
Volunteers in South LA got practice doing just that as the City of LA's Emergency Management Department and residents teamed up to take part in America's Prepare-a-thon, a mass national event where volunteers run drills on what to do in an emergency.
It's a simulated earthquake, and what we have here today, 7.8 magnitude earthquake.
We know that our city has 4 million people in it, and our first responders can't come and rescue them right after a disaster.
So neighbors took care of neighbors. They set up a triage and treatment area to take care of the dead and wounded, and they even set up an animal care center for stranded animals.
That's where we really save lives, is the initial response.
Officials say all residents, even those with no training, can help save lives if they practice the 5 steps to neighborhood preparedness. Identify an area in your neighborhood that you can adopt, such as your street or apartment building. Recruit a leader. Scout your area so you know where the dangers and hazards are in an emergency. Build a team with your family and neighbors and map out a plan for what to do when disaster strikes.
It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when we have an earthquake of this magnitude. Right now, USGS predicts that there's a 99% chance of a 6.7 or greater earthquake.
It's really cool when you see a community take it upon themselves to educate themselves.
Officials say at least half of all residents are totally unprepared for what to do if a disaster were to hit. I'm Ana Marcos for LA This Week.
For more information on how you can get prepared, visit 5stepsla.com or ready.gov. Well, one city agency teams with the White House to help youth in the projects plug into the digital age. Gil Reyes has part 1 of a special report. Gil.
Yes, Yana, the city agency that oversees this newscast, as well as LA City View Channel 35, has partnered with several entities once again to deliver computers to low-income families, this time targeting low-income housing communities throughout the city of Los Angeles.
Christian Blankenship takes home his family's first ever home computer, and it's free. He and his younger brother live in the Rancho San Pedro housing project.
But he went up to me just the other day talking about I can't read, I don't know how to read, I don't know how to get on the internet, I don't know how to look up things, and this is a big opportunity for him. I'm going to set it home. I'm going to teach him all about it. He's going to do it in school. Because, we live in projects, there's a lot of bad things that happen here.
Many young people in this public housing facility by the LA waterfront struggle through life, struggle through school. One reason is the lack of computers in the home for schoolwork and other necessities.
It is super expensive right now, so I think it will be a good idea for this program to continue to strive.
This program is called Connect Home, an effort by the Obama administration to provide free computers to kids and families in public housing. Families also receive discounted internet access, around $100 for the hookup device. This provides 4 free years of broadband through Sprint. In the city of LA, 500 families living in public housing have benefited since February.
So we've gone to Ramona Gardens, we've gone to Nickerson Gardens, we've gone to Avalon, we've gone to Gonzaga, now at Rancho San Pedro, as well as Pico.
The Housing Authority of the City of Los Angeles received the computers from the Our Cycle LA pilot program. Launched more than a year ago, Our Cycle took thousands of outdated city computers and instead of throwing them away, repaired them for disadvantaged families. The city's Information Technology Agency, or ITA, led this effort with support from LA Mayor Eric Garcetti and City Council President Herb Wesson. In fact, Mayor Garcetti helped hand out around 800 computers to families in Koreatown and Baldwin Village during the initial rollout.
To help the low-income family individual to get connected to the internet, to improve their quality of life, to help them get access to better education, healthcare.
While also reducing environmental waste, as many of these computers, useless to the city after a systems upgrade, could have ended up in landfills. And there's another benefit, job creation. The city had hired the new nonprofit group Human IT to do the repairs. And since then, Human IT has grown, adding 6 full-time staffers to handle the increased workload. New clients include USC.
Because of Our Cycle LA, we've been able to get business from local companies and actually companies all across the country. We also got to teach a lot of 100 different volunteers as well as 7 youth around Boyle Heights the vocation of computer repair. And then this is just the last stage of it, which is giving it away to families, which is the best stage in my opinion.
Like you said, vital. It's a tool that everyone needs. I mean, I can't even explain how appreciated I am.
I definitely appreciate whoever started this program, and I'll be down to volunteer for them too.
Helping to bridge the digital divide. In San Pedro, I'm Gil Reyes for LA This Week.
Around 80 families from Rancho San Pedro alone received computers. While authorities close in on a major drug operation on Skid Row, a new alliance between the public and private sectors offers job opportunities for those with criminal records, and LADWP opens 3 public trails at Owens Lake. All these stories in City Beat. A major drug bust by the LAPD, local and federal agencies led to the arrests of 19 drug dealers for selling heroin, cocaine, and methamphetamines on Skid Row. Wiretaps, surveillance, and undercover officers were used in the year-long investigation. Almost $2 million, including $600,000 of $1 bills, was seized. Mayor Eric Garcetti joined Chief Charlie Beck to say the operation helped remove a large number of drug dealers who prey on the most vulnerable.
This is about changing a neighborhood. This is one of the many steps that will have to be taken before we can make sure that the heart of this city is as pure as it can be.
Mayor Eric Garcetti launched a Blue Ribbon Commission on Employment Equity, an alliance of private and public sector employers committed to providing opportunities for people who have been historically excluded from jobs that offer career advancement, including those individuals who have been formerly incarcerated. Commission members have agreed to voluntarily refrain from criminal record inquiries until a conditional offer of employment is extended, refrain from asking job applicants about their credit history, and actively work to develop recruitment and policies for populations that have been historically unemployed, including those with criminal records.
And to give people those entry-level jobs on the way up on the ladder, whether it's that cleaning the floor and the toilets that eventually allows you to train solar installers, or whether it's here, somebody who can help us by fixing sidewalks and one day get a city pension and a middle-class job. It's an unprecedented opportunity.
The Los Angeles Department of Water and Power recently joined officials to celebrate the grand opening and ribbon cutting of the Owens Lake Trails, which officials say aim to enhance public access, recreation, and wildlife habitat at Owens Lake while educating visitors about LADWP's dust control efforts on the lake bed. The Owens Lake Trails features 3 trail areas with a total of 4 miles of walking paths, overlook areas, and land art installations. The effort is part of LADWP's Owens Lake Dust Mitigation Program, initiated in 2001. It has mitigated 96% of dust emissions from Owens Lake to date, according to officials. Complete mitigation is expected by 2017. Well, it's out with the old and in with the new, as a new program is helping residents not only cut their energy use, but save some money, too. Rich Samuels has more.
It's new, good size, quieter. You know, it's clean, brand new. I like it.
James Sebastian is happy about his brand new refrigerator, one of 177 new energy-efficient units. recently provided free of charge to residents at Fame Corporation's low-income housing.
This will help low-income families to save at least $60 annually on their utility bills.
The opportunity to create greener, more environmentally friendly apartment complexes grew out of Fame's involvement in LADWP's Community Partnership Program, which provides education on reducing energy and water usage to residents of the 8th Council District.
What's so fantastic about this program is LADWP is really reaching out to low-income communities to be part of the conservation effort, but simultaneously they're helping those low-income individuals improve their quality of life and receive benefit from the community.
The LADWP's Refrigerator Exchange Program partnered with ARCA, the Appliance Recycling Centers of America, to complete the replacement process. This is Rich Samuels for LA This Week.
The new energy-efficient refrigerators use half as much electricity as older models. While a 5K run that'll have you covered in all the colors of the rainbow, tour a legendary music studio as it opens its doors to the public for the first time in 6 decades, and a day of music and games that's perfect for the whole family. All this in this week's Things to Do. Also known as the happiest 5K on the planet and the most colorful event this May, the Color Run in Los Angeles is taking place on Saturday, May 21st. The Color Run partners with a charity event at each location, and in Los Angeles, they are working with Back on My Feet, a nonprofit that uses running to help the homeless in changing their lives, and Children's Hospital Los Angeles. So get your old white t-shirt ready and don't miss your chance to get covered in orange, pink, blue, and yellow paint on this exciting 5K run. What better way to give back and have fun? The event starts at Dodger Stadium on Saturday, May 21st. For more, visit thecolorrun.com. If you're into music production and have ever wondered how Capitol Studios, which has hosted recording artists such as Frank Sinatra to the Beastie Boys, makes its magic, wonder no more. Created in 1956 and for the first time in 60 years, Capitol Studios is opening their doors to the public. This is a chance to hear stories and witness the place where many recording artists who have created your favorite tunes made their music. Tours will be held in the studio, and there will also be a vinyl fair Saturday, May 21st. For more information, visit capitolstudios.com. Calling all Southern California moms, here's an event that is fun for the whole family. The 3rd annual Great Big Family Play Day in Los Angeles only happens once a year and features a day full of face painting, games, crafts, and event meet and greets with your children's favorite characters. Grammy-nominated singer and songwriter Lisa Loeb will be performing in a nursery rhyme parade, and the day will also include hula hoop dancers and a number of performances. You won't want to miss this day full of music and family fun on Sunday, May 22nd at the Autry Museum of American West. The event starts at 9:30 a.m. and closes at 4. For details, visit greatbigfamilyplayday.com. And that's a look at some things to do. Well, that's going to do it for this edition. I'm Yana Kane from all of us here at LA This Week. Thanks for joining us. A reminder that you can catch us online at lacityview.org. You can also follow and like us on Facebook. We'll see you back here next week for more of LA This Week.
Graffiti removal? Call 311, the toll-free number for non-emergency services. 311, your one call to City Hall.
It all started that one day. I knew then my destiny. To have a career where I can achieve my best, where every day is different, where lifelong friendships are made, where I'm saving lives and inspiring others. My name is Mackenzie Vandergeest, and I am a Los Angeles firefighter.
Hi, I'm Kevin from Chatsworth, offering you a taste of New Orleans since 1986. You're watching LA City View, Channel 35. Our city, our channel.
Sergeants, please call the members. It is Wednesday. It is Wednesday, May 18th. I'd like to welcome you to your Los Angeles City Council. This council meets every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. All are welcome. Madam Clerk, I believe we have a quorum. Could you please call the roll?
Blumenfield, Bonin, Buscaino, Cedillo, Englander, Fuentes, Harris Dawson, Weiser, Koretz, Krikoran, Martinez, O'Farrell, Price, Rue, Wesson. 10 members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Thank you very much. First order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
Bonin moves, Harris Dawson seconds. Next.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
Price moves, Martinez seconds. That brings us where?
Items 1 through 11 are items noticed for public hearing. No action is required on item 1A inasmuch as the item was adopted by Council on April 15th and scheduled in error. The Department of Building and Safety recommends that item 1B be received and filed inasmuch as the lien has been paid in full. And there's also a request from the Bureau of Street Lighting to receive and file item 4.
Okay, cards?
Yes, there are cards on item 1 and 11.
Okay, let's hold those and prepare to vote on the other items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, let's continue.
And on item 2, that ordinance will be held over 1 week to May 25th unless reconsidered with 12 members.
Okay, we should get 12, so just remind me. Okay.
Okay.
Continue, please.
Items 12 through 37 are items for which public hearings have been held. Committee reports for items 12, 18, 33, and 37 have been submitted and circulated for consideration.
Ms. Martinez.
Item special.
Item which? 35. Mr. Englander.
Items 19 and 36 special.
1936 for Mr. Englander. Members, any others? I don't see any. Let's prepare to vote. Mr. City Attorney?
Just to correct the record, item number 17 is in Council District 11 and not Council District 2.
Okay, thank you. Let's prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, continue.
All right, and those ordinances will be held over also for 1 week unless reconsidered with 12 members.
Thank you.
Items 38 through 54 are items for which public hearings have not been held. 10 votes are required for consideration.
Okay, so without objection, those items are now before this body. Mr. Buscaino.
President, item number 47.
47.
Call that special, please.
Any other specials from the members? Cards?
Yes, there are cards on items 38, 45, 46, 49, 50, 52, and 53.
Okay, let's hold those items and prepare to vote on the remaining items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, continue.
Mr. President, that takes council back to presentations, items called special, or general public comment.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Price, would you like to begin? The floor is Mr. Price's.
Mr. President, members, I'm pleased to present a group of community leaders, nonprofits, attorneys, paralegals, spearheaded by the fearless Dr. Desmond Hazley, a lifelong resident of the 9th District, who together formed a series of free legal workshops throughout the 9th District. They gave free legal advice and services to our underserved population, consisting of workshops regarding evictions, housing rights, homeowner rights, elder abuse, immigration, expungement, a whole variety of issues that are impacting our community. And I just want to recognize the following leaders and present this certificate of appreciation as a small token of our gratitude and appreciation for their collaborative efforts.
for your outstanding legal service and advocacy provided in the 9th District, your exceptional leadership and dedication to developing a community legal service program for the underserved has enhanced the quality of life of our residents and helped empower them to create the positive change for themselves, their families, and their neighborhoods. Your commitment to legal education and outreach has helped our community reach our goals of success for all residents in the district, in the 9th District, and we appreciate and are very proud of the many accomplishments and efforts that you have achieved with this community collaboration. So, members, I'm going to read the names, and afterwards I would just encourage us to give a nice round of applause to all of these outstanding community activists. First of all, Dr. Desmond Hazley, who is the ringleader of this effort.
Congratulations, Doctor.
We have the LA Trade Tech Paralegal Department represented. Otherwise known as Friends Outside. We have the LA Trade Tech WorkSource Center. The LA Trade Tech Paralegal Club.
All right.
Okay. The Vernon Library is in the house. Ana Campos. Back again. Kimberly Danielsa. Thank you, Kimberly. Brenda Evans. Okay. Attorney Lancasis Fletcher. She's not here? Okay, good. She didn't hear me botch up her name. Attorney Carl Gray. Bernita Jones. David Markland. Eric Marshall.
Thank you.
Okay. Timothy Moore. Where's Timothy? All right. Douglas Rodriguez. Verna Smith. And Carlos Vasquez. Members, let's give them all a hand again. We appreciate their commitment, their leadership, and their support for our community.
Let's give them another round of applause. Thank you. Thank you so very much. Again, congratulations. We're going to start out. We're going to call item 38. That was called special by cards. Mr. Walsh. Item 38 is Mr. Walsh, Mr. John Walsh. Item 38 is Mr. Walsh.
Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org, or J. Walsh Confidential, gets you the same place, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. Number 38, again, this concerns the maintenance of many of these items up here. The maintenance of the Sun Valley and North Hollywood #1 street lighting district. You know, I know you don't like it when I get up here and attack you, but you hate it even more when I get up here and praise you. And remember, you're doing an excellent job on street lighting. Those old carbon arc street lights, they were the bane of my existence. And when those lights go off, it gets really, really dark in your neighborhood. You're used to those new lights that we have up here. You're doing an excellent job. Keep up the good work on street lighting. And notice nobody gets up here and complains about the street lighting. Nobody. They complain about you, but not street lighting.
Hey, Mr. Walsh, could you kind of hang around? I'm going to take two of your items next, so you may want to stay close. So on this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
10 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Walsh, let's try 45. Item 45.
John Walsh, HollywoodHighlands.org. Number 45. Okay. Whenever you see the word exemption up here, this is an exemption for a historic site curator. We don't even need a historic site curator in this city that's falling apart. But that means that the person they picked behind the scenes doesn't have the qualifications that appear in the on paper that they must have on the charter. So therefore, they come up here, and notice you don't mention the name of the person here. Who is it? A friend of Donald Trump? I want to know why you are re-exemption. So that person is having the job right now and is not qualified under the charter. None of these assholes, and I don't include Cedillo, none of these assholes give a damn about this. It's just another pork job.
Stay close, Mr. Walsh. Okay, on this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
11 ayes.
Okay, Mr. Walsh, what about item 49?
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This concerns LA smart water cycling. Isn't that a contradiction in terms, like the world's tallest midget? Everything you've done with water, and this is where you're getting some money from the federal government, $300,000 each for the water recreation plant's purification, and a total of $4 million for the worst damn water in America. I wouldn't even spit in this water. It's so bad. But this is going to go through. Hey, it's only $14,690,000. Hey, who gives a damn? Let's not talk about this. Let's give out some more plaques. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Thank you. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Okay, let's move to. We're going to do items 46 and 52. So, Mr. Gus, if you could stay around, because I'm taking up two of your items. So come forward, but I don't want you to have to walk all the way back. So let's start off with 46.
Okay, 1 minute only on 46, please.
Okay.
That's right. This is what your job is. Your job should not be going for the Super Bowl. Your job should not be going for the Olympics. Your job is to take care of the community and do colloquial, small things like this, like naming an intersection after dolphins of Hollywood records. You know, it's not a glamorous thing. I know sanitation and lighting in parks isn't your thing. Taking care of a historic street corner like this is what you should be spending your time on: keeping the streets clean, improving the traffic, fighting crime, getting murderers and rapists off the street. Stop wasting time on the big glittery things that distract from good, small things like this. Don't be ashamed to do the little things and stop squandering time on the Super Bowl and the Olympics. And 1 minute only. I'll stick around.
Okay, hey, thank you very much. Okay, so on this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, I'd like to call on Mr. Daniel Gus again on item 52. Mr. Gus?
52, okay. 52 is going to be 1 minute also.
Yes, sir.
Only. I'm concerned that we have a council member who's leaving city council after only one of 3 terms. And I'm concerned that there's an allocation of $400,000 for something called the Pacoima Arts Incubator Project. So before you take almost $500,000 and doing this under the request of a council member who is suspiciously leaving city council 8 years before any other council member ever leaves, I think he needs to explain what programs exactly this money is going to be spent on. I want to know who runs it. I'd like to hear Mr. Fuentes declare that it's not being run by anybody related to him or related to his wife. It's $500,000 from a council member who's getting out of Dodge. 1 minute only. I'll stay by if you need me.
Thank you. I'll call you back. I don't think I'm calling your number next. Okay, let's prepare to vote on this. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, Madam Clerk, Mr. O'Farrell.
Item 18 forthwith, please.
Forthwith, 18 per Mr. O'Farrell. Why don't we deal with our ords? So we'll have a vote on reconsideration. And which items are we talking about?
And that would be items 2, 15, 16, 17, 18, and 38.
Okay, so first vote is on reconsideration. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Now let's actually vote on the items. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
And that includes the request for 18 forthwith.
Ms. Martinez, would you like to go to item 35? Ms. Martinez.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. And colleagues, today I'm really happy to say that we're finally moving forward with our Film LA contract. I know our partners are in the audience, and I just want to say that the contract was negotiated over the past several months with the intent to develop the most mutually beneficial contract both for the city and for Film LA. And last week we had a pretty productive committee meeting, not only on the discussion of the film contract, but also to discuss the extensive outreach and community mediation process that's currently underway with Film LA. Filming has increased by almost 11.4% over the last year here in the city, but by the way, they only receive about 1 complaint for every 20 film shoots a day. So Film LA is on track to keep track of the calls and the concerns that are being sometimes generated through some of our film shoots in some of these neighborhoods. But in addition to this measure, we're also requesting that the contract administrator track community concerns geographically, and that we provide the information to the community so that they know who to turn to in case they need assistance in trying to get some relief on the shoots in their neighborhoods. So those are just some of the initiatives that are underway with Film LA. Again, I want to thank the city attorney's office, Commissioner Kevin James. I'm not sure if he's here or not. He played an instrumental part in making sure that we got here today. Thank you very much, sir. And to our city family, the CLA's office, as well as to Film LA. Thank you very much, and I ask for an aye vote to finally approve this contract and move forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Martinez. Let's prepare members to vote on that item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes.
Okay, now Mr. Buscaino. Mr. Bonnet.
Thank you, Mr. President. While Mr. Buscaino is going to the podium, I wanted to acknowledge some guests in the room today. Each year, we generally get a group of visitors, educators from Kiel University in Germany. They're here in the first 3 rows. Just like to acknowledge them.
Welcome.
And Isaac, who used to work for Mr. Labange, is working for me now, and he will give the patented Labange tour of City Hall to you.
Okay. Mr. Buscaino, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mr. President. This week here in the city of Los Angeles and cities across the country are celebrating National Public Works Week. And I ask you, colleagues, to take a minute and imagine what Los Angeles would be if our toilets didn't flush, our trash didn't get picked up, storm water didn't drain to the ocean, or there were no streets, no sidewalks, no bridges, no street lights, no inspectors to monitor private contractors, and no engineers to design public facilities. Simply put, cities wouldn't be able to thrive without public works. And it's an appropriate coincidence that we celebrate National Public Works Week on the same day this council is holding a public hearing on next year's budget, which is proposed by the mayor and modified by the Budget and Finance Committee. And by the way, this budget that we will take up tomorrow is looking pretty good for Public Works. And I want to highlight a couple of some key wins for Public Works. Funding for 2,400 miles of pavement preservation, an additional clean streets crew, additional tree trimming crew, more funding for graffiti abatement, more funding for nonprofits to pick up small pieces of trash and pull weeds, $31 million for sidewalk repair. National Public Work Weeks is a celebration of the tens of thousands of men and women in North America who provide and maintain the infrastructure and services collectively known as public works. Let's take a minute to applaud the men and women from the Bureau who give and dedicate themselves to public works in the city of Los Angeles. Round of applause. We love you. The City of Los Angeles Department of Public Works is the third largest department and is responsible for the construction, renovation, and operation of city facilities and infrastructure. The department's 5 bureaus, contract administration, engineering, sanitation, street lighting, and street services, build the city's streets. They install sewers and public lights, construct storm drains and public buildings, right-of-ways, and service facilities. Our public works employees truly are the unsung heroes of the city, and it's so easy to take them for granted because we're so accustomed to the infrastructure they design, build, and maintain, and services they provide as well. So I can speak to this firsthand because 3 months into being elected here in this office, a street that I used on a daily basis, Paseo del Mar, fell into the ocean. I'd never stopped to appreciate that street until it was no longer there, and I had to take a long detour around. Our public works infrastructure and the employees that maintain it make Los Angeles livable. As chairman of Public Works Committee, along with my colleagues on the committee, Ms. Martinez, Mr. O'Farrell, Mr. Price, Mr. Rue, I'd like to say thank you. Thank you to the Board of Public Works, Kevin James, Commissioners Kevin James, Monica Rodriguez, Heather Repenning, Mike Davis, Joel Jacinto, the Director of Bureau and Street Services, Nazario Salceda, City Engineer Gary Lee Moore, Director of Bureau of Street Lighting Ed Haribian, and Inspector of Public Works, Director of the Bureau of Contract Administration John Reamer, and Enrique Carlos Zaldivar, Director of Bureau of Sanitation. And most importantly, thank you to the thousands of hard-working men and women of the Public Works Department who work tirelessly to make Los Angeles a great place to live, work, and visit. Help me welcome the Board of Works Commission President Kevin James to say a few words.
Thank you, Councilman. Thank you, Councilman Buscaino, and I want to echo the Councilman's thanks to our just approximate 5,000 employees throughout the Department of Public Works, represented by our 5 bureaus and the board office. I also want to thank my colleagues on the Board of Public Works Commission that are here today, and thank them for their continuing hard work on behalf of the city. And today, I really would like to thank all of you, our City Council, for the support that you provided to the Department of Public Works and to our Commission Board as well. It's a very important day, as Councilman Buscaino mentioned a moment ago. Today's the budget is on the table, and it's obviously critical to our ability to do the work that we do across the city of Los Angeles. So a big thank you to Mayor Garcetti and his back-to-basics approach in this term. And as well as the City Council's adoption of that as well. It's reflected through the budget. I'm going to have a few more minutes and a couple of minutes when we present our annual report to go through more of the details. But before we do that, I did want to thank all of you and, of course, Mayor Garcetti for the continuing support of what we certainly see as the key department in the city of Los Angeles.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. You know, the city of Los Angeles is one of thousands of cities that are celebrating National Public Works Week. In fact, this week, National League of Cities and a number of its members are in Capitol Hill lobbying and advocating for infrastructure projects to filter down, the federal funding to filter down to local municipalities across the country. And before we end, I do want to recognize a few members of our neighborhood councils, the San Pedro Northwest neighborhood councils. Each of you on your desk have a reusable water bottle. Compliments of the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council. I'd like to thank Darlene Zolvany, Chair, Youth and Community Outreach Committee, and Vice Chair, Sustainability Committee, for being here today, along with her colleagues on the Northwest San Pedro Neighborhood Council, Sarah Valdez, Chris Valle. And they're doing everything they can to help advance the city's zero waste goal by calling attention to the immeasurable waste that is generated each year by disposable plastic bottles. So thanks to the tireless efforts of our Bureau of Sanitation, Los Angeles has one of the highest landfill diversion rates in the entire county, in the entire country rather, and thanks to the leadership of neighborhood councils like Northwest San Pedro that have been playing a vital role in helping us achieve 100% compliance. So with that, I want to recognize all the members, men and women of the Department of Public Works, celebrating National Public Works Week here in the city of Los Angeles. And the crowd goes wild. Are we blocking anyone? All right, here we go. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President and colleagues. I know we'll take item number 47 very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, so again, congratulations, and we will roll right into item 47. So I would like to call Mr. Walsh. Johnny, I see him, Mr. John Walsh. I don't see Mr. Previn. I'm looking for him. Mr. Previn. ZD. If you come in after Mr. Walsh till we find Mr. Previn, maybe somebody could...
John Walsh, blogging at HollywoodHighlands.org. This is the Public Works Annual Report. This is obscenity. Take it, get the children away. This is naked aggression. Public Works Annual Report. And it's all BS, what you have there. Yesterday, they held a meeting for the northern city councils about the DWP, the Northern Neighborhood Council. Remember, it's separate but equal. If you're in the South, you're black and you're worth shit. Separate but equal. There wasn't a single black person there for the DWP. And your water is swill. And here we have this Public Works Annual Report. I don't see it on anybody looking at it or reading it. Only one person won. Our water is poison. They're now spending time out in the valley for the white people's water, and I'm white, and I take full advantage of my white privilege. HollywoodHighlands.org.
Mr. Previn, followed by Mr. Dog. Mr. Previn.
Thank you, sir. It is Eric Previn from CD2. I'll just take 1 minute on this very nice item, number 47.
Fine.
It is about the Public Works, the Board of Public Works, the annual report, of course, for the department, which is critical to the infrastructure upgrades that we're trying to roll out and to keep the whole city moving smoothly. My concern is that the Budget Finance Committee at item 11, will that be on the agenda? Because some of my relationships between the Department of Public Works and the budget are what I wanted to talk about, but I can't tell if that's on the agenda today. For this one, I have to confess, because there was not an agenda in the room, I did not get a chance to properly scroll into the results of this annual report. But if it's like previous annual reports, we have a substantial amount of work to do, and we have a team in place to do it. I'm not sure that I have anything else to say on this at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Previn. Mr. Dog. Item 47, sir.
Thank you, Board of Public Works.
That is presided over the single biggest turncoat sellout bitch in political history, Kevin James, who's here to my right. He can go screw himself. Okay, now, Board of Public Works. I would like all resources to be used on the number one crisis addressing the city now, which is homelessness. I'd like, especially Mike Bonin, if you can go, I met somebody yesterday at the Venice Neighborhood Council meeting, Affordable Homes for You, number 4, letter U. Could be great solutions of low cost. They're basically like little portable shelters. Imagine the MTA maintenance lot on Sunset in Maine. You could have 1,000 of them there and really address the homeless crisis. And then the city could put on their, corruption racketeering things like, fees and permits so they can get their piece of the pie. Because I addressed that. That is an issue. Okay? So, again, to reiterate, the city has a $2 billion plan to address the homeless crisis. However, they don't have $2 billion. They got no dollars.
He needs to bring it back to the Public Works Week.
Get back on Public Works, Mr. Dunn.
The sidewalks. I would like, this will address the sidewalks. We need to get the people off the sidewalks and into something. Okay, the Board of Public Works. Here's something as advisor, and this is on topic. If the Board of Public Works could look into finding some city property, some vacant lots, and then put these affordable homes in these lots. Something to get the people off the streets and the underpasses. Thank you. Zuma Dog.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Buscaino? No, Mr. O'Farrell stood up.
Oh, are you sure?
So we'll go to Mr. Buscaino, and then I'll call on Mr. O'Farrell.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this item before you, the city charter requires the Public Works Board of Public Works to present its annual report to the City Council highlighting the activities of the department from the previous fiscal year. I'd like to invite the Board Commission President Kevin James and also the 5 bureau heads to come forward to make their presentations. We'll give them an opportunity to speak a few minutes each on some of the highlights. And for me, one of the highlights is, I know we're talking about this last fiscal year, Kevin, it's 14-15, but recently we put out a report on the state of our city trees, first time ever. I want to recognize Nazario and his team. That was a huge win for us to really pave the way to find the resources needed to preserve our canopy, but also be responsive to the residents and finding ways to get out there to trim our trees throughout the city of Los Angeles. So with that, Mr. James, I'll turn it over to you, and then if you could identify each of the 5 bureau chiefs that are here to make their respective presentations. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Councilman Buscaino, and thank you to the council for this opportunity. Just a couple of introductory remarks on behalf of the board before we go to our bureau representatives along with our Office of Community Beautification. It's a very exciting time to be a part of the Department of Public Works and the Board of Public Works. And there are just a couple of things I wanted to highlight, and some of them kind of meld together. It's some of the individual work and the leadership of my colleagues, really in concert with what has been, if I look for a common denominator on what's made Public Works so exciting right now, it has been technology, and it really is beginning to revolutionize the way that we provide city services in the Department of Public Works. So just a few highlights. And I do want to thank Elena Stern in our Public Affairs Office for the work that she did with her team in helping us put together this annual report. In the Bureau of Street Services, and you may hear a little bit about each of these as the bureaus speak this morning, but the new technology has really helped us increase the efficiency and speed up our pothole repair time in the city of Los Angeles. We're getting, if a pothole is reported, we're getting to a pothole less than 72 hours in many instances, much better than that for repair, which is very exciting. I would like to thank Commissioner Repenning for her work with the Bureau of Sanitation in our Clean Streets initiative. We, as many of you know through the presentation that happened a few weeks ago, we have put every city block online and rated it for its cleanliness, a 1, 2, or 3, which gives us metrics, gives us data through which the Bureau is able to pick up abandoned waste, bulky items, illegal dumping. And one of the things that we wanted to do in the annual report is provide some of those numbers. We have a by the numbers section for each of the bureaus to give you a sense of the scope of work that's taking place. The Bureau of Street Lighting, always at the front end of technological advance across the city, with one example, their smart poles that are around the city of Los Angeles. I'm sure Norman Asakian, who's here, will talk a bit about that. I also want to thank Commissioner Monica Rodriguez, the Vice President of the Board of Public Works, for her leadership in the BAVN, the Business Assistance Virtual Network, along with the Bureau of Contract Administration, for increasing inclusion and opportunities in the city for people to contract with the city. Another example of increase in technology. Also, my colleague, Commissioner Joel Jacinto, and his work in partnering with the Los Angeles Fire Department, the Los Angeles Department of Building and Safety, in our Build LA partnership to help streamlining permitting for businesses across the city of Los Angeles. And of course, our Commissioner Mike Davis for his continuing work on our South LA initiative. The key departmental programs, just to give you an example of what you're going to hear a bit more about, obviously Clean Streets Los Angeles, our sidewalk repair program, pavement preservation, where we're setting records, as Councilman Buscaino mentioned, new attention to tree trimming and maintaining and growing our tree canopy across the city. That's something, just to give you a little foreshadowing, where we are going to see great advances because of technology with what we're going to be able to do with our urban tree canopy. And I want to close with just a statement regarding the Board of Public Works and our Office of Accounting to give you a sense of the scope of our work. In the last fiscal year, the Department of Public Works paid nearly $856 million to city vendors, which translates to an average of $2.3 million per day. That supports local and regional jobs and, of course, stimulates the economy. This number, as well as so many other numbers related to the work that we do at the board and across the department, are included in this latest annual report. And so with that, why don't I start with our city engineer to my left, Gary Lee Moore.
Good morning, Madam President, council members. It's great to be here to represent the men and women of the Bureau of Engineering. I'm Gary Lee Moore, the city engineer. And it's a very exciting time in the Bureau of Engineering. I'll just share a couple brief comments with you. In this period of time that we're here to discuss, we completed and started over 145 projects, both completed and started. And, you know, one of the areas of concentration for us is our Prop O, our Proposition O, wastewater collection, and our wastewater treatment and reclamation projects, where we completed over 40 projects. And development services is something that we're all concerned about and to be able to be responsive on. And in key metrics in this area, in our A permit for sidewalks, curbs, gutters, and also our sewer permits, we hit over 95% in delivering those permits in an hour or less. We continue to deliver projects all around the city, whether they're transportation projects, rehabilitating Hollyhock House, or building fire stations or police stations. And finally, I just conclude by saying in our development services, B permits are a key component that we look to develop services. And we're now delivering those permits in 30 days or less, 100% of them. And we all look forward to the opening of our new 6th Street Viaduct in 2019. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. And our director of the Bureau of Street Services, Nazario Soseda.
Good morning, council members. I'm very happy to report that the men and women of the Bureau of Street Services, the dedicated men and women of the Bureau of Street Services, worked very hard during the fiscal year 14-15 to fully complete all our goals. Among the most important goals, of course, is the historical 2,400 lane miles of pavement preservation, a number that was accomplished with the fewest number of employees in our resurfacing division in the history of the Bureau. So we got the largest number of miles with the fewest number of employees. And the accomplishment gave the opportunity to the Bureau to be awarded by the Foundation for Pavement Preservation with the award of Excellence in Pavement Preservation nationwide. In addition to pavement preservation, the Bureau of Street Services made our neighborhoods more walkable, more accessible to the residents by building approximately 900 access ramps, building approximately 101 concrete bus paths, and of course by improving 170 bus landings throughout the city. We work very closely with the neighborhood councils as part of our neighborhood council blitz, and we visited each neighborhood council in the city of LA twice this fiscal year. Therefore, we were able to partner with the residents, the eyes and ears of the neighborhood, and work on approximately 20 to 30 locations per day on each one of these neighborhood councils. In terms of tree trimming, 2014 and 15 was an exciting year simply because finally we got the opportunity again to proactively start trimming trees. Prior to that fiscal year, we were responding to emergencies, but we were not performing tree trimming in a massive way like we did in the fiscal year 2014 and 15. Technology played a very important role in 14-15. As a result of the innovation grant that was provided to the Bureau of Street Services, we were able to acquire tablets that replace paper and pencil. Now we do everything through tablets and a system that allows our supervisors to inspect every pothole request almost every single day. And as a result, our response time is 1.7 days. So once again, the Bureau thanks the Council for their support, their appreciation, and again, looking forward to delivering better news in the fiscal year 16-17.
Thank you, Nazario. And our Chief Financial Officer from the Bureau of Sanitation, Lisa Mowry.
Good morning. I'm very pleased to be here to talk about the part of the report that actually is full of BS, which we call biosolids. So that was a very appropriate. All right, come on, bring on the groans. So sanitation is responsible for the city's clean water, solid resources, and watershed protection programs with the mission to protect public health and the environment. We're responsible for collecting, cleaning, and recycling solid and liquid waste generated by more than 4 million residential, commercial, and industrial customers. In addition to those three core areas, we also have broader environmental responsibilities moving into the fields of climate change, brownfields remediation, renewable energy, and homelessness cleanups and illegal dumping. A couple of key points from our programs in our Clean Water program. I'm happy to report we are currently recycling 30% of the wastewater that comes to our treatment facilities, and we look forward to increasing that number in the future. We're currently expanding the advanced water purification facility at our Terminal Island facility, and we're looking at expanding facilities at other treatment plants. On our Solid Resources program, I'm pleased to report that we collect 7.4 million pounds of hazardous waste at our solvents, automotive, and our safe centers. For our watershed protection program, we are doing a lot of really interesting green infrastructure solutions rather than focusing so much on the gray infrastructure we have in the past. We're looking at doing infiltration projects with stormwater so we can maximize our water reuse and reduce the amount of potable water that we need locally. A big area, as I mentioned, where we've expanded our services is in the areas of working on homelessness issues with the city and the cleanup associated with that. And so that's going to be one of our big areas of focus in years to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. And from our Bureau of Street Lighting, our Assistant Director, Norma Esihakian.
Good morning. I am Norma Sahakian, Assistant Director for the Bureau of Street Lighting.
and I'm going to cover a couple highlights we had done in fiscal year 14-15. Now, the Bureau of Street Lighting oversees approximately 215,000 streetlights citywide. In fiscal year 14-15, the Bureau of Street Lighting has successfully continued our existing programs while starting several new and exciting ones. In summary, the Bureau continued our sustainable programs that reduced energy consumption through the conversion of 7,577 streetlights to LED and 1,709 streetlights from high voltage to low voltage. We also continue to provide our maintenance services within our response goal turnaround times. We repaired 44,021 streetlights and saw a decrease in wire theft from 5,442 the previous year to only 1,919 streetlights impacted in fiscal year 14-15. The Bureau also successfully piloted 2 electric vehicle charging stations that were attached to streetlights and installed 3 first-time co-location poles that house communication equipment within the pole that would have otherwise been attached outside the pole. And finally, in the technology arena, the Bureau implemented an electronic plan check procedure for our private developers, which resulted in 54% of our private development plans being processed electronically. Also, the Bureau developed a map-based mobile application for reporting streetlight outages, which captured 17% of our outage requests. Thank you.
Thank you, Norma. And from our Bureau of Contract Administration, we have Mr. Bradley.
Good morning, Walter Bradley. On behalf of John Reamer, thank you for the opportunity to share some of the accomplishments of the outstanding men and women of the Bureau of Contract Administration. This morning, I'd just like to share some accomplishments reflective of our motto, which is quality, opportunity, and compliance. On the quality side, BCA inspectors ensure quality construction on public works projects as well as permits issued for public work in the right-of-way. For the period covered in this annual report, we inspected and approved over 36,000 linear feet of new sidewalk. We participated in the rehabilitation or replacement of 30 miles of aging sewer pipe. Our special permit inspectors conducted over 39,000 permit inspections within 1 day of request for permit work in the public right-of-way, ensuring that proper restoration of the public right-of-way and the infrastructure was done. And we also participated in the inspection of 543 emergency sewer repairs. We also do the payments for contractors working on public works projects. BCA processed 1,953 monthly progress payments on cash contracts totaling over $291 million in an average of 1.4 days from the time we received it from the field inspector till we sent it to the Bureau of Accounting. It is our goal to ensure that payment to contractors from verification in the field to deposit into the contractor's account is 15 days or less. This allows contractors more cash flow and provides more opportunity for reinvestment into the community. A total of 14 construction contracts were awarded to local businesses for work totaling $107 million, supporting our effort to reinvest back in the local economy. The Office of Contract Compliance participated in 19 outreach events, providing information and education to 735 constituents regarding the city's certification program and contracting opportunities. Out of 21 department project labor agreement projects valued at over $468 million, a total of $5,497,860 was reinvested into the community through wages and benefits paid to local residents.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. Go ahead.
In response to the PLA requirements of 30% local residents, 10% disadvantaged workers, and 50% of apprentices who are local residents, the construction contracts under our PLAs resulted in the hiring of 42% local residents, 20% disadvantaged workers, and 66% of the apprentices hired were local residents. The OCC Labor Compliance Section, through its monitoring and enforcement of prevailing wage requirements, collected $1,283,647 in wage restitution for 316 workers from contractors who failed to comply with payment of prevailing wages. And another $186,363 was paid as restitution to workers that were underpaid. And finally, the one related to this particular annual report, BCA is preparing to begin a new fiscal year providing citywide enforcement of the city minimum wage ordinance through its newest division, the Office of Wage Standards, and we're looking forward to getting busy with that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Bradley. And in closing, I'll come back to the Board of Public Works. And before we, an extension of the board, obviously part of the board office is our Office of Community Beautification. Before I go to Mr. Roch, though, I would like to thank our Deputy Mayor of the Office of City Services, Barbara Romero, and Greg Good, her Chief of Staff, as well as our Executive Officer, Fernando Campos. Mr. Roch on the Office of Community Beautification.
Good morning. Saul Roch, Director of the Office of Community Beautification. The Office of Community Beautification contracts with nonprofit community-based organizations geographically spread throughout the city of Los Angeles. Their primary work assignment is the graffiti abatement program, and in fiscal year 2014-15, these contractors removed 30.6 million square feet of graffiti from over 607,000 locations citywide. They responded to 129,000 requests for service, which was a 26% increase in the number of requests received in just 2 years. These contractors were able to complete 48% of the requests within 24 hours or less, 67% within 48 hours or less, and 78% of the requests for service were completed within 72 hours or less. Beginning in December of this year, OCB contractors are now also part of the Clean Streets Initiative, working to clean up weeds and litter throughout the city of Los Angeles. To date, over 800 locations have been cleaned by OCB contractors who have collected more than 20,000 bags of litter, weeds, and debris from along the public right-of-way. In addition to contractors, OCB supports volunteer cleanup efforts throughout the city of Los Angeles, partnering with each and every council district at some point throughout the year. In fiscal year 14-15, OCB supported 317 volunteer cleanup community beautification events, which involved 29,800 volunteers. These volunteers provided 118,000 hours of volunteer service, cleaning up the neighborhoods of the city of Los Angeles, essentially donating $3.1 million worth of their time to improving their communities. OCB seeks to work with these volunteers throughout the city of Los Angeles, focusing on improving conditions, leading to better qualities of life, safer neighborhoods, and improved economic conditions. Additionally, by working with the nonprofit community-based organizations, we're not only a service organization, but we're also able to provide jobs and job training to a number of youth and young adults throughout the city of Los Angeles. Last year, through OCB contracts, we provided 408 jobs to residents of the city of Los Angeles. And as most council offices know, these nonprofit agencies have the capability of providing many other services, and over the past year have been involved in sidewalk repair work, installation of decorative lighting, fencing installation, landscaping maintenance, tree planting, and tree watering. And despite several challenges facing these programs in the upcoming year, we do look forward to meeting and exceeding these numbers in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roch. If there are any questions or comments, that concludes our oral report.
Thank you. Mr. Buscaino.
Thank you. As you heard, colleagues, so much effort and commitment continues to be made on our public works infrastructure throughout each of our respective districts. I know I can see, I just turned to Mr. Weezar's district, that incredible 6th Street bridge that's taking place. I mean, we all have projects being made with even Mr. Cedillo's Clean Streets Initiative. Everyone at the table here is committed to delivering our core vision and mission in our respective council districts. And I know, Mr. Price, also the work that you're doing in cleaning our streets and alleys, and the decorative lighting. We're in my district, we're adding Tivoli lights in each part. Every community that I represent is going to identify a main corridor. We're creating little Italys in each of my communities that I serve. So with that, thank you so much for your commitment and your dedication to the city. I do want to recognize again how much of an impact National League of Cities have had in lobbying the federal government. We have successfully lobbied for a long-term transportation bill that involves a number of infrastructure dollars to be filtered down to the state, the counties, and the cities. And I want to look forward to in finding ways to identify those dollars here in the city of Los Angeles. And I look forward to working with you on the Public Works Committee, as well as the colleagues that serve on that committee as well. So thank you so much for your presentation. Mr. President, I'll turn it over to you for questions or comments from my colleagues.
Thank you. You did such a good job, there are none. So with that said, why don't we prepare to vote? Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Thank you. Mr. O'Farrell?
Mr. President, I'm so excited about item 18 that forthwith isn't enough. I'm going to do urgent forthwith.
Okay, well, why don't we vote on that?
Thank
on
you.
item 18, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Mr. Fuentes?
Mr. President, I'm inspired by Mr. O'Farrell. Can we also call item 49 forthwith?
Without objection, I guess we should vote on that as well, correct?
We haven't voted on it?
No. But I think he wanted, did you want urgent?
Just forthwith.
Okay, then that will be the order. So we're going to go to number 1. Okay, let's reconsider ordinances. Madam Clerk, why don't you tell me which ones they are?
That would be item 39, 40, 41, 42, 43, and 44.
Okay, so let's open the roll on reconsideration. Close the roll. Tabulate.
15 ayes.
Now let's actually vote on the items. Let's open the roll. Close the roll. Tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Okay, now let's go to item number 1. Miss McAllister, Patricia McAllister. Mr. Walsh, I lost you. Okay, did he pass? Okay, Mr. Previn and Mr. ZD, are you still here? Item 1, Zumada. Yes, Miss McAllister.
Mr. McAllister here. I see that on some of the old liens, you're still charging 250% interest. I'd like for that to be lowered to 40%, like I see on some liens. So you can't have some liens at 40%, some at 250%. We'd like to see that be 0%, really. People should not be penalized for falling on hard times. We have enough people on the street, and I want to thank the governor for allocating these $2-3 billion for the homeless. I also want a motion where the city council members, their family, friends, and relatives are not able to buy these eventually foreclosed homes. Excuse me, I'm talking.
Ms. McAllister, continue.
These foreclosed homes. It's been brought to my attention that people are spying on other people's homes and then reporting them to the city, and then the city put these liens on homes. That could easily be done, and people are being swindled out of their homes after the city gets them. So if the city attorney right here ends up buying 3 or 4 of these different homes for his grandchildren and his children, that's illegal. So we need some kind of motion where the city officials are not able to capitalize on people losing their homes. If they're caught doing this or having their friends and relatives and daughters and sons doing this, we'd like to have them removed from office or their position and possibly jail time. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Mr. Dogg, I see you, but I'm still going to ask for Mr. Previn. Yes, sir, Mr. Previn.
Thank you, sir. It's Eric Previn from CD2. As a member of the public who attends these meetings from time to time, I like to follow up on some of the ones that have come through, these liens. There was one in CD13, Mr. O'Farrell's district, that you recall, a group put up a little fence, and because they were concerned that folks were coming through, and then they were mired in a variety of permitting problems with the Building and Safety group, because they were told that they were sort of facing a catch-22, and it seemed like we needed an intervention from the CD13 team, because what was actually unfolding was they were being told that they needed to either take it down, thereby exposing themselves to security issues, or alternatively, they would be facing a substantial cost to get it permitted, like $5,000 or more. And these are just folks who live in an area which is not being appropriately protected and secure. So it is with that spirit that I would ask that you take a look at that. You'll remember the item. Thanks.
Thank you. So, Mr. Dogg. There you are. It's the glasses. And Mr. Walsh passes, I believe. Mr. Dahl.
Yes, for building and safety, I would like you to release all these off of the mafia hit list. How this works, and there's only one FBI investigation ongoing that I know of, and it is of this department, building and safety. And let me explain what happens. You have these corrupt mafia thugs that the building and safety... Oh, Corcoran hates hearing this. I'm sorry. It's true, though. What happens is the city, it's like a mafia corrupt racket. They send the building and safety inspectors over to your property. They find some BS reason or something you're not doing good enough, and then they make you fix it. And then once you fix it, well, then they'll find something else you got to fix. And then even if you fix that, well, then they'll say you still... It's the most corrupt way that the city steals properties from people. Okay? So release all of these, and I would like you to instruct building and safety. Go after the big violators, not the mom and pops people, so you can steal their property.
Thank you. There are no more speakers on this item. Let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Wait. Come on. Did you fill out a card? Okay. So let's vote on reconsideration on item 1. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Yes, ma'am. Is this Margaret, maybe?
Yes, Margaret Malloy.
Okay.
I would like to speak on disproportionate enforcement. I live in Venice. It's CD11. Our Oakwood neighborhood has been, just under all kinds of pressure for any kind of broken window, all these things. And yet throughout the district, there are so many violations of LADBS code and building code. And I would like to specifically point to 811 to 815 Oceanfront Walk. It's a historic property. One building was 1905, one was 1908. The current owners bought the building and Ellis Acted. It should have been historically preserved. Instead, it has been allowed to sit unoccupied, theoretically, but with many different occupants over several years. It's a blight. It's a community. It's a problem for the community, and there are numerous complaints on the property for abandoned buildings, trash, graffiti, police services. I would like a lien on that property. You cannot target the poor and let the rich do whatever the hell they want at the cost of the community. 811 to 815 Oceanfront Walk, Mr. Bonin, please. We don't want selective enforcement. We want one set of rules for 90291.
Thank you. So now let's vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Mr. Englander.
Come on up here. I got a special introduction, colleagues. Somebody who's truly magnificent. Danya Nasser. She's incredible. She graduated from St. John's University, where she studied political science and women's and gender studies at McNair as a McNair Scholar. She is a U.S. Youth Ambassador to the UN, where she'll explore the U.S. relationships with the United Nations, connecting young Americans to the UN and work to inspire them to play an active role in the U.S. and the UN's work to build a better world. This is incredible. She's intern in the White House Office of Legislative Affairs, the Wilson Center Middle East Program, the Brennan Center for Justice. She's currently a member of the YTH Student Advisory Board, the Advocates for Youth Young Women of Color Leadership Council, and it goes on and on and on. She has supported these marginalized groups through her academic success, leadership achievements, and social media opportunities. In fact, she was the 2014 Glamour Magazine Top 10 College Women, a recipient of the Win Young Women of Achievement Award in Service Nonprofit Advocacy, and the awardee of the Harriet Beecher Stowe Center's Student Prize. So she's visiting us here today, and I'm going to ask her to say a couple words. And she's launching a program spearheaded by the United Nations to encourage youth in our communities and issues here in Los Angeles. So please put your hands together for somebody who's truly a remarkable young leader visiting us today. Thank
Thank you for that generous introduction. I'm only 23, so it's kind of weird to hear it like that. So I'm the 2015-2016 U.S. Youth Observer to the United Nations, and the position, applications for the position are actually open. So if you have any questions, please come up to me and ask them. But essentially, I became really involved in the issue of gender equality and youth civic engagement because of my personal story, and coming from a background where I have a single mom who was denied access to an education and contraception because of her gender. It really empowered me to want to work on this issue on a larger scale. And so I really believe that we need to demand our right to the table, especially as young people. I'm the youngest board director for Planned Parenthood, and to be able to be in that space, and thank you, to be able to be in that space and advocate for these issues among people who are, much older and in different fields has been really exciting. And so I'm here to help launch the Action Ambassadors program, which basically allows young people who are really passionate about these issues and working with the UN to have an outlet to do so. And it's being launched in Southern California, which is really exciting because this is the first of its type in the whole U.S., and it's being launched here. So that's why I'm here to help it. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, colleagues. Thank you, Mr. President.
You want to take 36, item 36?
So thank you very much. 36 is a motion. It's already gone through committee, and I appreciate the committee's support on this. And this is to amend how we move forward in the future on the franchise agreements with SoCal Gas. Now, even though the SoCal Gas Company's Aliso Canyon storage facility is located outside of the city of Los Angeles, it's had a significant adverse impact on many thousands of city constituents, as you all well know, and businesses that have been negatively impacted and affected. So it's critical and it's necessary that the city use this experience to ensure that the City of Los Angeles franchise with them is as strong as possible in providing future protection for all city constituents. While it's necessary to extend the current franchise agreement for a year while the new agreement is negotiated, it is incumbent upon the city to use this year to craft the most protective agreement possible. It's also critical to state that this juncture, neither the extension of the current agreement nor the negotiation of any new franchise agreement is a permit for them to operate or utilize the Aliso Canyon facility. They are not connected. So just to share with you some of the highlights and what I'm asking for your support on and your yes vote is to instruct the CAO and the City Petroleum Administrator to work with the City Attorney and with the City Risk Manager to ensure that the franchise has the strongest legal protection possible for the constituents here in Los Angeles. To ensure that the terms of the new franchise require them to provide the Board of Public Works with the copies of all regulatory reports submitted by the gas company and to other regulatory agencies, and all official notices of the gas company by other regulatory agencies. To require that, and this is critical, that the agreement contain a provision to concurrently notify the city of any event that results in the notification of any regulatory entities, including but not limited to leaks, equipment failures, and other notifications. That's something that certainly doesn't exist today, and it didn't happen during the blowout that we experienced at Aliso Canyon. And then another highlight is to report back on the major provisions other cities' best practices that they may be doing in their agreements, and a focus on new provisions enacted after Proposition 218 and 26. So, colleagues, I ask for your aye vote, and I appreciate the support that this had where it passed committee already. Thank you so much.
Thank you. On this item, let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Mr. Englander, that's approved. You want to move to item 19?
Yeah, go ahead.
Let's go to item 19. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 ayes, 1 no.
Okay. If we could go, Mr. Krikorian.
He could be a no.
You want to go, Mr. Koretz?
Yes, I was a little slow on the draw, but I wanted to be reflected as a no on that last item as well.
Okay, so it doesn't change the outcome. So if we can change Mr. Koretz on item 19 from a yes to a no.
And for the record, Mr. President, that ordinance will be held over 1 week.
Okay, so we're going to go to item 11. Would you like to set that up, or you want me to jump into public comment? So, Mr. Krikorian.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Members, today the Council is receiving the Budget and Finance Committee's report on the Mayor's proposed budget for 2016-2017. We've completed 3 weeks of budget hearings in committee, a total of over 40 hours of hearing time. We've heard from 44 city departments and bureaus and received 173 public comments. We incorporated in that process presentations from the Neighborhood Council Budget Advocates as well as the Coalition of LA City Unions, and proposed and considered 133 requests within committee for reports back and other memos. So what you have before you now is a budget of $8.75 billion, $5.5 billion general fund, and $3.2 billion special fund budget. We have increased the reserve again this year. It is now at $334 million, which is 6% of the general fund, $31 million more than last year's adopted budget. So I just wanted to talk, I'll go into more detail about what's in the budget tomorrow when we consider it, but this is a budget that, despite increasing the reserve and despite creating a greater cushion for future down years, we're investing more in public safety. We're investing in our public works infrastructure. We've begun the significant investment in homeless services and prevention. We're investing in job creation and economic prosperity and improved neighborhood and community services. So I'll go into more detail tomorrow, but members, just to remind you of our process. Today, we will be taking public comment here in Council on the budget. So that's all we'll be doing. We won't take any further action. What I would ask you to also do today, though, members, if I may, is if you have proposed motions, if you have requests for changes, if you have requests for reports back on this budget, please get them to the CLA today by the end of business. Your offices may not draft budget motions. Only the CLA may draft budget motions because they have to be according to the format that the CLA monitors. So get your requests into the CLA, please, by the end of business today. We'll then have a stack of motions that the Council can take up tomorrow when we consider the budget. But if you don't do that, it delays the entire process because we end up finishing our work and waiting for more budget request motions to come from the back room where they're being copied and so on. So let's not let that happen. Please get your requests in by the end of business today to the CLA. Now tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. we will take up debate and consideration of the budget. We'll begin consideration of the committee report. As in past years, the CLA will present the report and we'll go page by page through it. If you'd like to call any items special for discussion, you'll have that opportunity. If not, we'll just keep moving through. Then we'll take up motions at the end of that process. So no changes in process really from previous years. I'm sure you're all looking forward to it and remember how we've done that in the past. Just final reminder, please get your requests for motions in today by end of business. It will make for a much smoother process tomorrow. So with that, Mr. President, the only thing to be done today is taking further public comment. As I mentioned, we've already taken 173 public comment cards, but this is the opportunity for people to speak to the entire Council, and I would like to invite that to take place now.
Okay, again, thank you, Mr. Krikorian. And members, let me remind you or remind you that tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. we will begin our budget conversation, 9:30 tomorrow. And as Mr. Krikorian said, any of you that are desire to put in motions, please submit them today by the close of business so that it does not delay tomorrow's work. Okay, so with that said, let's begin our public comment process. So I'm going to call, and if anybody hasn't filled out a card for public comment, please do it now. So if I could call up Anne-Sophie Morissette, Mark Morris, Tiffany. Oh, Tiffany, you're going to have to help me with that last name. So we'll start off with you.
Good morning, council members. Good morning, Council President Wesson. And thank you for hearing us again. I'm Anne-Sophie. I'm from the Downtown Women's Center. And first, I want to thank you all for including the full $138 million to address homelessness in this year's recommended budget. As you know, your leadership comes at a critical time. Homelessness continues to rise. And the latest count confirmed what we all fear to be true, that women's homelessness in particular has increased at an alarming rate by 55% in just 3 years. While the numbers are discouraging, we are thrilled to see that the recommended budget addresses the needs of women, and it supports two important actions. The first is a housing gap analysis. This will tell us where and what services women are accessing. And the second is trauma-informed care training, which is critical for city departments to help women connect to the services and the resources that they need. As always, your leadership on this issue is deeply appreciated. And on behalf of the 8,000 women experiencing homelessness in this city, we thank you for your time and for your attention.
Thank you. So if I could get the next speaker, please.
Hi, good morning. My name is Mark Morris. I'm a board member for the Valley Interfaith Council, and I'm here today with the Valley Interfaith Council to say thank you to the City Council for their vote to restore the funding for the evidence-based program recommended by the Budget and Finance Committee. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So if I can get Tiffany. Zuma Dog, you still here? Zuma Dog. I think it's a Lori Burns, Adam Murray. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Tiffany Jamorlin, and I'm the manager of the Hollywood Homeless Youth Partnership, a collaborative of 6 agencies in the Hollywood area that provide services and housing for homeless youth. We would like to urge the support for the mayor's budget proposal of $138 million for homeless services and would like to highlight the needs of youth. The most recent homeless youth count in January 2016 found an increase in this population. Of those surveyed, about 70% of those that were surveyed reported Los Angeles as their last place of permanent stable housing. These are our youth, and they need the resources to ensure they don't become our chronically homeless adults. I hope we can count on all of you to support the mayor's proposal for homelessness in its entirety. Thank you.
Thank you. So I thought I saw, well, do I have Lori Burns? Zuma Dog, come on. Adam Murray, Lori Burns, Beverly Ventress.
Yes, Zumadog, Zumadog.com. We're talking about the big enchilada, the budget for the year from Mayor Garcetti. Now, we have a lot to accomplish for this budget because I was told by a City Hall insider that I said, gee, how'd the mayor do the first term? He's like, well, he hasn't done anything yet. He's saving everything for the second term. That's an insult. So I would like a lot of money to be dedicated to the #1 crisis facing the city, which is the homeless crisis. Now, there's a lot of things to discuss in the city, but at this point, the homeless crisis is an all-hands-deck approach, as we've said. I've never seen the encampments up and down Los Angeles Avenue like now. Venice, more than ever. The next year, you can expect more homeless coming to this city than has ever hit. It's going to be an avalanche, and you know what? I'm having big-time billionaire developers ask me, gee, Zuma Dog, why are we getting hit with the homeless like this? So to keep it on topic, why I want all money to be spent for this is because Venice is the beacon to come here if you're homeless from across America. Then we have open borders, and then we have Obama bringing in refugees. They all seem to wash up at Venice Beach and throughout L.A., and it's never been worse. Now, so the mayor came out with a $2 billion plan, but there is no money for it. So then the investors overseas, they go, oh, gee, well, okay, the homeless, they got $2 billion, they're going to take care of it. But what isn't in the LA Times is that there's no money for it. So I know you got a lot of shenanigans you like to get in this budget for yourself so that you can do the favors you need to get reelected. We need you to be very serious this year. It's about to be the worst year in LA history, and you're not going to be able to deal with it from a police angle either. Focus on that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Ms. Burns, Adam Murray, Beverly Ventress, and LaShonda Mays. Yes. Welcome.
Good morning. First of all, I want to say I'm very proud of where we are from the initial point where we sat with Mayor Garcetti and talked about raising the budget for homelessness. We've come a long way in a short period of time.
Identify yourself, please.
What's
Identify
that?
yourself.
Oh, Lori Burns, founder of the Teen Project. Yes, sorry about that.
No problem.
For some of you, this may be a repeat, but an important repeat for me. The homelessness budget for homeless youth in particular is around rapid rehousing. Rapid rehousing is something that we use for adults that maybe lost a job. It's a temporary solution to get back on your feet and get a job. It's not the right solution for homeless youth. I know the HUD report said that transitional housing is not the right solution, but they were talking about for chronically homeless. They weren't talking about kids, because transitional housing is the very right solution for domestic violence victims and kids. And if you could imagine, some of you I'm sure have kids, and even those that don't, if you saw a homeless kid on drugs, maybe never owned a checking account, never had a car, doesn't have a driver's license, didn't graduate high school, the last thing we want to do is throw them in an apartment alone, which is what rapid rehousing is. We have hundreds of transitional housing beds. Of course, Freehab. Some of you saw me here with Russell Brand a couple of years ago when we opened Freehab, the only free drug rehab in Los Angeles for homeless youth. They will never get in there if we don't add transitional age youth. Also, Covenant House, LA's Gay and Lesbian Center, LA Youth Network. Those are all transitional housing components that they'll never be able to access. Now, it was tried in Orange County once. They attempted rapid rehousing for homeless youth, and what happened was pregnancies, apartment destruction, loss of rental units. So I just urge you to pay attention to that transitional housing. Thank you.
Thank you. Hey, Michael, do you have a card in here? Okay, I'll call you. Could you sit till I call you? Okay, Mr. Murray. Yes.
Good morning. Great to be here with you today. My name is Adam Murray. I'm the Executive Director of Inner City Law Center. And the budget that you are going to receive today and that you're going to vote on tomorrow does represent, as you're hearing, a very significant increase in the city's commitment to tackling homelessness. So I'm primarily here today to add my voice to the chorus of voices that hopefully you are hearing loud and clear in support of those efforts, and you're really stepping up in this area. I do want to point out that, as Councilman Krikorian said, this is a beginning, and there's still a lot of work for all of us to do. And there are a number of items, three in particular, that I want to flag, where we are going to be counting on and needing your continued leadership as we move forward. One is the linkage fee that is called for and that you will need to act on later in this year. In the budget materials, that's called for already, but that's something that will be on your plate. Second is that also on the committee's plate at the moment, but eventually in front of the full council, we'll be expediting permanent supportive housing here in the city and efforts to do that. And finally, the third thing that will also be in front of you soon is inviting the voters of Los Angeles to join you in stepping forward and making this a permanent source of funding so that we can continue to tackle this problem and tackle it on the scale that's needed as we move forward. So I want to highlight those things because they're things that we will be continuing to count on your leadership as we move forward. But mostly today, I want to just add my voice in support of the wonderful work that the committees that have worked on this, both the Budget Committee and the Housing and Homelessness Committee, or the Poverty and Homelessness Committee have done, and the Housing Committee, and come together with the mayor and with all of you. It's very much appreciated and noticed by those of us who work day in and day out on these issues, and just want to make sure that you hear that loud and clear as well. Thank you.
Thank you. And Mr. Hunt, I found your card. I got you. So if I could have, is it Ms. Ventress, Ms. Mays, Mr. Previn, Sherry Weaver, and Mr. Hunt. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. President and council members. I'm Beverly Ventress, President of the Valley Interfaith Council. We are a 50-plus-year-old organization that operates in the San Fernando Valley. We provide services for seniors through 4 centers across the valley. One in Van Nuys, the Bernardes Center, one in Northridge, the Wilkinson Center, in Sherman Oaks, the Sherman Oaks Center, and the Alicia Broadus Duncan Senior Center in Pacoima. Again, we serve a myriad of services to seniors, primarily underserved. I'm here today to also thank the Budget and Finance Committee for reinserting funding for a very important program of those that we offer. It's called evidence-based. I was here 2 weeks ago pleading for that. In the camp, there were those who were thanking the Budget and Finance Committee meeting, as I am today. I was there pleading for reinsertion of funds. Again, just briefly, evidence-based programming, although I know it sounds jargon-esque, but it's really measurement of activities to help offset and mitigate health conditions. As I said a couple of weeks ago, we have a tsunami of healthcare conditions coming upon us as our society ages. We have in place no long-term care. It's been in the paper. We don't have that. We have a crisis in healthcare in serving seniors. The idea is to be preventative, not reactive. And through these programs, which are empirical based, it's been proven to offset and mitigate chronic conditions. So it's very important that we do this for our seniors.
Thank you.
To help mitigate health care.
Thank you. So again, if I can get Ms. Mays, followed by Mr. Previn, followed by Ms. Weaver. Welcome.
Good morning, Mr. President and council members. My name is LaShonda Mays, and I'm with Imagine LA. We provide intensive case management and mentorship for formerly homeless families. We're here today in support of the budget, the $138 million identified for homeless services. I want to thank you for that support and also remind you that nearly 1/3 of the homeless are families, and that there are also foster care youth emancipating with young children of their own that are becoming homeless faster within 1 year. And we want to make sure that we identify and make sure there are housing options for these populations, as well as supportive services to not only just warehouse the formerly homeless, but to help them thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I can get, Ms. Weaver, come on up. Mr. Previn, would you allow her to go right before you? And then Mr. Hunt, you're after Eric Previn. Yes, ma'am.
Good morning. My name is Sherry Weaver, and I'm from Harbor Interfaith Services in San Pedro. I'm the CES Regional Coordinator for SPA 8. And I want to thank you today for your leadership and focus on the homeless crisis in Los Angeles. I'm here today in support of the proposed budget, but want to bring attention to funding for community-based outreach and housing navigation. One of the most critical components of the work we do is street outreach and housing navigation. Identifying homeless, completing assessments, building relationships is the beginning of the process that leads to transitioning people living on the streets and towards permanent housing. Through street outreach, we encounter all types of population that are homeless: families with children, veterans, single adults, and youth. The outreach teams navigate and connect whomever they encounter to service providers to begin the process of developing a housing plan. The lack of funding in this area would bottleneck a system that is working well and needs to be expanded. The number of homeless encampments is overwhelming in our cities, and emergency response and cleanups are not reducing these numbers. Our request for funding will be released tomorrow from LAHSA, and a shortage of funding in this area would just really bottleneck community-wide planning process. One such example is Howard Lambert, who has been homeless since 2005, was living in the streets in San Pedro near the San Pedro post office. While living homeless in a tent, he found himself attacked, unconscious, and left bleeding in a pool of blood outside of his tent. This led to 3 surgeries, numerous hospital stays, and a long period of recuperation while living in the streets. When the outreach team first met Howard, he was reluctant to accept services and felt his chances of getting his own place was not possible. He did not have a lot of trust and had been offered services in the past, including shelter and enrollment in a drug treatment program, even though he was not did not have drug and alcohol problems. Long and short of it is that in April of 2015,
Thank you. So Mr. Previn, followed by Mr. Hunt, followed by Chris Coe, followed by Oscar Mohammed. Yes, Mr. Previn.
Yes, it is Eric Previn from CD2. Thank you, sir. The budget hearings, I'm a teeny bit confused. I want to benchmark. Yesterday at the Board of Supervisors, we heard on one item about a tax on millionaires above $1 million. There were 150 so speakers in one afternoon. We've heard from 173 members of the public on this budget, thanks to Mr. Krikorian. He has provided, and he identified that there would be 13 days at which any member of the public could speak for 2 minutes, which means that that's almost 26 or 27 minutes worth of comment, which is obviously a lot. But the problem, as I raised, was it's hard to speak on items that are specific. Like if you're interested in law enforcement and why we're spending $5.1 million on increasing civilian workers at LAPD, you can't really land that. You can bring it up at the beginning of one of those meetings. The problem, I think, is, and a good thing for the future would be to like make a little menu or an agenda, sir. I know this is not your area of expertise, but an agenda with the sort of departments on it with earmarked times, either an hour or so apart. Some of them do take a little longer, but there's nothing wrong if you show up a little early. Believe me, people can't sit here for 8 hours a day. And then, of course, there was the disappointing reduction of 5 of those days, apropos of I don't know what. I guess they were busy. This is very efficient, is the term that Mr. Krikorian likes to use. And I don't disagree that there's an efficiency, but I think that what gets lost is the engagement piece. So regarding tomorrow, which I know is another 9:30 a.m. special meeting, I was curious because if folks are going to be making motions, which I assume they are, as he suggested, get them in by the end of the day, surely that indicates a change. And then you will be accepting public comment tomorrow, I assume, unless there are absolutely no changes to the budget, which would be highly atypical. So I'm only interested in providing feedback on various departments. Obviously, in 2 minutes, I can't make it through my list. And so that's why I would raise these issues, that if you could provide a little bit more visibility about what we're talking, then also all the departments wouldn't have to sit around all day long waiting.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. So, Mr. Hunt, followed by Chris Coe. I think it's Yadira Sarato and Oscar Mohammed. Yes, sir, Mr. Hunt.
Yes, I want to recognize the name on the card is the Red Chief Hunt. That's pretty much what I have to say. But in this budget, needs to be reviewed by the whole city. Number one, the police budget is not correct. Number two, giving money away to which you really don't understand. The city council don't even really understand the complete budget. And here's what we need to do. We need to get a committee, an outside committee to review this budget so that it can be placed in the people's hand, not the city council, because they don't represent the people. And this is what I'm saying about the budget. It's wrong. Crime has gone up tremendously since Eric Garcetti has been in office. Chief Beck gets no respect, and the committee doesn't really focus on the real things, which is crime. This is why we have the homeless. This is why we have everything that's regarding this whole budget for the city of Los Angeles, and it continues to go up because Eric Garcetti wants to build jails, put people in jail instead of building jobs. We build jobs in education and get people off the street. If you can't develop that and you can't put that in the budget under JHTE, which is job, housing, transportation, and education, I have no respect for you. And just like I have no respect for people that cannot read the card, the Red Chief Hunt, the budget needs to be reviewed by the public, and they should have the final word on what's going on. You guys have not represented us in any good manner, and this is from the Red Chief Hunt. Respect that, get the budget corrected, fire Chief Beck, and let's get on.
Hi, Chris Coe with the United Way of Greater Los Angeles. Good morning, council members. I am sad that the special moment, I have 2 minutes to speak. I do not plan to use all of it. But I just wanted to say that we are here to speak in support of the package prepared by the Budget and Finance Committee, to see that committee look at homelessness, especially that part of it, and put its due diligence in and support that. We especially appreciate. And now we ask the full council also to get behind that and join in the city's overall commitment to homelessness. Something we are especially pleased by and ask for the full council's endorsement of also is the approach of having the Homelessness and Poverty Committee be able to continue to make adjustments throughout the course of the spending this year. In the Funders Collaborative, something we've learned as an important means to make full impact is to not only wait for the annual RFP cycles in order to spot and take advantage of opportunities and also overcome hurdles in the process. So asking for your support and trust in the Homeless and Poverty Committee to continue making those adjustments as necessary to ensure full impact. So thank you, and we look forward to the work ahead.
Good morning, council members. My name is Yadira Serrato, and I work with the Trust for Public Land. The Trust for Public Land has been working along the LA River for over 20 years, and we want to thank the Budget and Finance Committee members for their work with the budget and for their support for the LA River revitalization. We encourage the City Council to follow through on the recommendations the Budget and Finance Committee made. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, so I read a report about the Budget and Finance Committee presented to the Mayor of Los Angeles, and we oppose that, what the Mayor is trying to do. We do not have any clear vision of which direction the Mayor is carrying his budget in. This budget should be withheld. And the money that the Mayor is trying to give to the police department for overtime without any clarity or within openness, that money should be withheld. We should find a way that the revenues can be directed to the proper resources where they intended to go to in a positive direction. And anyway, about the homeless, we should give the homeless a ticket and a lunch bag and send them back to where they came from, because all them homeless people are not Los Angeles citizens, and they should not be in the city of Los Angeles. To be a citizen of Los Angeles, you should come here on a day and sign up for in 6 months to be a citizen, and 6 months later you can be a citizen of Los Angeles. They are not citizens, and we should not be spending our money on people who are not a citizen of Los Angeles. But anyway, we should have a more open government, but we find about in the days of old, before the politician was in charge of the social service was in religious people's hands. But when the destructive civil rights people came to America, and they took the social responsibility out of religious people's hands and put it in the politician's hand, and society began to crumble since.
Great, thank you. Katie Hill, followed by Maria Camacho, followed by Margaret Molly Paulhay. Good morning.
Morning. My name is Katie Hill. I'm the Deputy CEO of PATH. On behalf of our organization and the more than 1,000 homeless and formerly homeless LA City residents that we serve each year, we strongly support the investment of essential funds to address homelessness in our community. In particular, we'd like to emphasize our support of the proposed sale or donation of surplus city properties. We all know that the supply of affordable and permanent supportive housing must be drastically and rapidly increased to truly end homelessness. Without a permanent place for people to go, all of the other strategies can only do so much. We need to use every tool available to quickly develop housing for our most vulnerable community members. The availability of real estate is a major barrier to doing that, and we believe that these city-owned properties provide a major opportunity to have a significant impact. Thank you all for your commitment to addressing homelessness, and we're looking forward to working with you all in this crucial endeavor.
Hello. In terms of the budget, I think that it's pretty obvious.
If you could just state your name again.
Oh, Margaret Malloy. I'm sorry. Individual. In terms of the budget, it's obvious that homelessness is a very major issue in the city. I would like to suggest, how do you export democracy when you don't exemplify it as a country, as a city? Los Angeles is the homeless capital of the country. It is appropriate for us to divest from other states and countries that have discriminatory policies towards certain populations, but we in Los Angeles have those exact policies. It's the underrepresented unhoused people in our community. They're not strangers. They're family members. They're constituents, but they're underrepresented. There's an awful lot of developer and architect and those kind of monies funding public officials. It seems they're getting disproportionate representation. In Venice, we have a huge homeless population. It's second in the city, yet in the many years of service of Mike Bonin as chief of staff and as our council person, I'm afraid there's no more beds available. There's 160 for 4 months a year, and that's it. That's a problem. And it's not a problem of resources. It's a problem of prioritizing and political will. We've just expanded a huge storage facility on Venice Boulevard. I would suggest you use eminent domain and prioritize people over excess belongings of the very rich. It's all about political will. Please help us.
Good morning, Maria Camacho with River LA. I hope you're all having a good morning so far. I wanted to share our support and thank the Budget and Finance Committee members for their support of the LA River Revitalization and for their vision. And I encourage the City Council as a whole to also follow through on the recommendations the Budget and Finance Committee made. We, as the River LA, very much look forward to working with the Chair and members of the River Committee in its future endeavors with us. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Davon Williams. I'm a member of the Youth Justice Coalition. I'm here to address the city's increasing budget in the LAPD, which ends up in a massive lockup of people of color, widespread of police killings and violence, distrust between police and communities. Just 5% of the city's budget would provide 50,000 youth jobs, 100 youth centers, and 1,000 peace builders and intervention workers throughout our city. Please invest in our youth and not oppression. LAPD tracks people down and gang databases, which increases ongoing recidivism. They have these killings. They're never held accountable for what they do. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I can get Ms. Fogler, Ms. Pearman, and it looks like Mr. Walt Young, please come forward. Yes, Ms. Pearman.
Okay. What we need money to fund video conferencing for the San Fernando Valley. In my opinion, it's David Salzberg got closed down. Teleconference is the way to go. Give people a voice. We can find a way to do it cheaply. We can find a way to put it on there because it hurts people in the San Fernando Valley and the San Pedro residents. Please bring it back. And I want to tell Mr. Garcetti, we don't need money for Warner City atrocities. We need money for police, streets, sidewalks. Anyway, our budget for homeless seems to keep people dependent forever on handouts, like homeless shelters that people don't stay in. I see the addresses a lot of time where I work, and these people seem to leave it. They give them free food, free health care, and no incentive to leave dependencies. So we need to find a way to get an incentive for them to want to work, because that's basically the only area that people could either be on disability if they're disabled or work, so that people can then be able to afford to buy their own place, and they won't keep on going from shelters to shelters for years and years. So we need to have money because this is going to be too expensive, that we won't be able to fix all our streets, our sidewalks, bring the small businesses in, help out the homeowners who are having some problems, who can't, so they won't lose their homes, honest, hardworking people. So we don't need just to have large incentives for the homeless situation to keep them there. Keep them in shelters over shelters over shelters over shelters, and so eventually they leave and they die. So we need to come up with a better idea. And I know it's too much money.
Thank you. Hey, Mr. Walsh and Mr. Gus, I don't have a card. Did you guys put in a card on this? Okay. All right. Mr. Young, followed by Ms. Fogler. Yes, sir.
Mr. President, members, Walt Young, Mountains Recreation Conservation Authority. As you know, for the last 6 years, we've safely and successfully operated the Los Angeles River Zone. But quite frankly, we've all done it on a shoestring, as necessary budget. We received generous funding over the years from the Department of Water and Power and Sanitation, and of course we put in our own funding. But the reason I'm here today is a twofer, if you will, and that is to urge some permanent funding mechanism to fund the Los Angeles River Recreation Zone. We've been working very closely with Councilman O'Farrell and CD13's office, and quite frankly, such a regular funding source would not only improve the safety of the river, but the second element is, it's no surprise that the river houses a great number of homeless people, which again is another very important issue to the city of Los Angeles. And so if a permanent funding source could be attained, we could have a world-class recreation program, a safe program. We don't have to look too far away from, we know that tragedy can occur on the Los Angeles River. And then lastly, address the homeless issue, and having a comprehensive program, we would urge consideration for funding. And thank you very much.
Thank you. So if I can get Ms. Fogler, and then I have an Arthur Golding. Brian Barajas, please come forward.
Yes, good morning or good afternoon, I guess, at that time. But I'd like to very much put a motion in for opening up the Van Nuys video conferencing here. We can get real cheap cameras. I'd like to make a motion. I'd like to ask my representative, Nuri Martinez, if she could please put in for the video conferencing, because we've been a long time without being able to have access for people in the San Fernando Valley to be able to have an input, be able to give up less time that they have to commute down here, and to be able to provide answers to alleviate the problem that we're now seeing from the homelessness, congestion, and all this stuff that's going on here in the city. So please, we need an input here down here in the San Fernando Valley. It's very important. We have a lot of people who are very smart, and we need to have them be part of the community here at large. So we need the Van Nuys Neighbor Council. The Van Nuys video conferencing opened up, and speaking of that, we need to address the homelessness. We need to have many innovations so that people can get jobs. People who are able to work should be able to work. Those that are not able to should be provided help and assistance. But anyway, we need to open up this video conferencing in Van Nuys. I'm asking my council lady, Nuri Martinez, to do so. And because there's a person here named David Salzberg. I have nothing against him. I'm not mad at him. He's mad at me for something, I don't know. But he came and told me he's going to get shut down. And he did it for personal reasons. It's not the money. He did it out of personal vendetta. And I don't know why he has to be like that. But they hurt everybody.
Thank you. Thank you. So, if I could get Arthur Golden, Brian Barajas, Guadalupe Garcia. I can't quite make up the first name, but I think it's Appleton, maybe? Yes, sir.
Good morning, council members. I'm Arthur Golding. I'm an architect and urban designer, and I've been involved with revitalizing the LA River for many years. I'm here in support of the inclusion of funding to acquire Parcel G of Taylor Yard. 24 years ago, the American Institute of Architects conducted a design charrette about Taylor Yard. There were a couple of bright young politicians there, a council aide named Ned Reyes and a labor organizer named Antonio Villaraigosa. You may remember those guys. A lot of water has flowed down the river during that time. But Taylor Yard was identified then and remains today as the single most important parcel along the river for public acquisition and for public use. I want to thank the Council Budget Committee for restoring funding in support of river revitalization and urge the full council to do the same. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I can get Mr. Barajas, Guadalupe Garcia, I believe it's Appleton, William Preston, is it Bowling? Okay, so Mr. Barajas.
Okay, thank you. Well, I think the urgency of whatever it is you guys are planning to do with your city is obviously it's. I think I should just say it in this way, and I'll leave until general public comment. You won't fix anything. That's a fact.
Okay, please come forward and identify yourself. Welcome.
Good morning. My name is Guadalupe Garcia. Thank you for your time to let us speak. I'm the program manager of the Daily Labor program at the DEPSCA. Thank you to the Budget and Financial Committee for approving the proposal to funding the 7 Daily Labor centers in Los Angeles. Those Daily Labor centers serve not only day laborers but also household workers. In the last 3 weeks, several workers have come here and shared with you some testimonies about how the centers help them, not just in getting jobs, but also in getting other resources, as some of them are homeless and also they are facing also wage theft. At the centers, we not just provide employment support, but also other resources as health services, health classes, English as a second language classes, and other resources that also we have collaborated with other organizations to bring free trainings for them. Some of the day laborers have received certificates at LA Trade Tech. Some of them have received a certificate with Wheels of Hope as welding workers. So I'm here today representing workers. They told me to come here because they are waiting at the day labor centers for a job, because these day labor centers are open thanks to you, because you have approved in the past funding for these centers. I'm coming here to ask you your support again to approve funds for these day labor centers again. Several workers have collaborated in the community with community cleanups with their volunteer time. So they spend a lot of time helping in the community because they know that they are receiving too much from the community too. So thank you so much.
Thank you for coming. Okay, so if I could get, please come forward, sir, and identify yourself.
Stephen Appleton.
Okay, Stephen, okay.
Okay. I'm really talking from a couple different perspectives here. One is I support what Walt Young from the Mountains Recreation Conservation Authority said. I do think a permanent funding source for the rec program is an ideal thing for the city. And as well, thank you, Budget Committee, for reinstating some of the funding for the purchase of the G2 parcel. You know, that piece of land and what's down below it, I doubt that we as a city and as planners and designers would be talking about restoring the river if it weren't for what we sometimes call accidents of the river there. The river bends, it follows the Echo Park Hills, forming sedimentary islands from storm waters, allowing plants to root there, birds, waterfowl, fish, amphibians, and one of the primary ways people have experienced that and seen this vision is through recreation. I sometimes think of this as an accident of nature, but when you go back and you think about it more, it really seems like a place of destiny. There has been no restoration there. There are certain natural conditions of the spring waters that lifted concrete. There are natural conditions of the hills. All of that has happened without our intervention, and this is a very important piece of property to hang on to for the future of the city. There's a kind of destiny in it. And as well, that is where people gain their vision of this linear park and this kind of hopeful opportunities that are in the river. So on those two fronts, thank you for your involvement in these issues, and let's continue to support them in the way that will produce the best result for the city. Thank you.
Thank you. William Preston? Bowling? Yes, sir.
Good morning. I'm William Preston Bowling. I'm Special Projects Manager at Friends of the Los Angeles River. And we would like to thank the Budget and Finance Committee for putting aside the $40 million for the acquisition of the G2 parcel. And we urge the City Council to approve that. And also, we gathered over 1,000 signatures on our website in support of the acquisition of the G2 parcel. And it makes sense because the state park has the bow tie parcel right next door. And I think with the revitalization of this area, it'll be a great park. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Mr. Krikorian, that closes the public hearing on item. Wait, is there another card? Do we? I don't have a card. Let me ask, who didn't? No, it's not public comment. It's not public comment. So that concludes public comment on this item. Okay, on this item. So again, let me remind everyone, tomorrow at 9:30, tomorrow at 9:30 here. If you have any motions, please submit them by close of business today. Mr. Krikorian, did I forget anything?
Yeah, Mr. President, just one final comment. One of the members of the public asked about motions and whether public comment would be taken on motions. They will not be tomorrow because as has been our practice in the past, I will ask that the President refer any motion that has a budgetary impact to the Budget and Finance Committee for consideration. So tomorrow we will not be taking votes on any motion that has a budgetary impact because I would ask the President refer all those matters to Budget and Finance.
Okay, thank you for that. I'll do that, and thank you for the clarification. Now, the public comment is closed on this item. Did no, wait. But now we have that. What now? Did she speak on this item? Okay, so you will get another opportunity to speak at general public comment, which will come in after two items. So let's move to item 50. Mr. Walsh, you want 50? Okay, so I've got you on this one. I have Mr. Gus. 50 is good for you. Mr. Hunt, Mr. Red Chief Hunt on 50. Yes, Mr.
John Walsh, are you really, we got 11% homeless rate, and you're talking about NFL holding the Super Bowl here in what, 2024, 2026? We don't need the Super Bowl. Come here, and you will be beaten up, you will be raped, we have a climbing homicide rate, NFL Super Bowl host committee. But you're going to be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on the Super Bowl. I want you to take your interest and the mayor's interest in the Super Bowl in this city, fold it 4 ways, very careful, worry about the edges, and shove it up your goddamn ass.
Okay, Mr. Gus, followed by Mr. Hunt, Red Chief Hunt, and Mr. Eric Previn.
Yeah.
Yes.
2 minutes on this. Council members, I have my next, as soon as you vote on this, I'm submitting my next article to City Watch LA. It's titled, Ill-Prepared LA Grovels for a Super Bowl It Won't Get. The city of Los Angeles, the odds of a Super Bowl coming to the city of Los Angeles are somewhere between diddly squat and goose egg. The next 2 Super Bowls are going to be in Houston, and then they're going to be in Minneapolis. After that, this month, the next 3 Super Bowls, 3, 4, and 5 years from now, are going to go to Miami, to Tampa, to Atlanta, or to New Orleans. That means by 2019 or 2020, the team that's going to be playing in Inglewood will have its stadium open for 1 year or 2 years at that point. I guarantee you, quote me on this, the NFL is not going to say no to the new billion-dollar stadium in Inglewood in order to give the Super Bowl to in 2019, your Coliseum will be 97 years old. They're not going to take a Super Bowl away from a billion-dollar stadium that's 2 years old in Inglewood, where they have a team, to put it in the Coliseum in a 97-year-old stadium. You have zero chance of getting the game. And here's the thing. You guys keep squandering your time on the Olympics. You keep squandering your time and resources on the NFL. And it must be eating away at you. Because, you know, when you honored the Inglewood council member and mayor here a few months ago, you ridiculously told them, well, we brought football back to Southern California. No, you didn't. The Super Bowl's not coming to L.A. It will be coming in about 5, 6, or 7 years to Inglewood. This thing you have with the NFL, you're never going to get it. You have a constant priapism, if you know what that is, for NFL, except maybe Miss Martinez doesn't have that. You need to get over the NFL.
All right. So, Mr. Hunt, you're before Mr. Previn, I think. You're good? Okay. Mr. Previn? You're next, though.
Thank
Yes,
you,
sir.
Yes, it is Eric Previn from CD2. And the Super Bowl is of great interest and excitement to the public. Obviously, this one will, as the previous speaker mentioned, not be immediate. There will be several years. We have, I believe Berghoff said it would be 3 or 4 years before 3 years before the Inglewood Stadium is complete. And obviously, there are going to be some issues with that. You know, people wonder about having a big event like that. Obviously, it's good for the investment. People are going to come, bring money. And thank you, sir, for item 53, the prostitution ordinance that you're putting together for your own district.
Stay on the item, though, Mr. Previn.
And, sir, I think that the public is kind of quietly supportive of this kind of thing, but I don't think we should be doing too much. And who is the committee? Because I looked at the item. It's just a motion from the state of the Mr. Price. Thank you, sir. And I know there's a special committee working on this. Who is on that? Who is on that committee, and where could I research that? And finally, just regarding tomorrow's special meeting.
Thank you. Thank you. You had to stay on this item. Okay, so I want Mr. Hunt and Ms. Fogler on this item, or Mr. Hunt, you pass? 50? It's item 50. And then Ms. Fogler on item 50. I have cards for you as well. Okay, thank you for that clarification.
Yeah, well, I could split my time if I want to. I want to just say is that, yeah, it's so impractical right now and unreasonable to bring it here, because we're going to have a new stadium like what Dan Gus said, and so it's just not feasible. I don't think that the NFL is going to go for it. So, and we don't have the funds for it right now. We need to get a handle on our budget. And to bring the NFL team here, you know, you said the LA Rams are supposed to come back, and they're going to go to Inglewood. So let's just get our feet wet, folks, and let's get things worked out first, the fundamentals of this team. And then we can start worried about getting a Super Bowl later if we can get it, if it can be done. But first of all, you got to get a grip on the crime. Prop 47, anything under $950, it's a misdemeanor. So just letting you know that crime is at a all-time high, and I don't think tourists are going to come here for a Super Bowl as yet until we get the Prop 47 revamped and fixed. That's what we need to do. So I'd like to save the rest of my time for next item.
Well, we'll call you on the next item. Thank you, if there's a card. Okay, so does Ms. Pearman have time?
Yeah, because I only spoke
Go
for
ahead.
2 minutes. Okay, yeah, I agree that I don't think we're ready for a Super Bowl. I don't think we're ready for the crime that will come up that will hit the visitors that are coming to see us, and that will give us a very bad time. And I agree with Daniel Gus that, they probably let us go into our old Coliseum. Well, they'll probably be easier to get Lions in there than it is the with the Christians than it was to bring an NFL team. So anyway, we don't have the money, and I really don't think we're ready or know exactly how to make it to the best way to have the Super Bowl, to have all these visitors coming over here, like where are they going to go and to the best advantage. So this is something that really should be thought out extremely before you come up with and before you do it. So that's all I'll say.
Thank you. So let's prepare to vote. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Now we'll move to item 53, called special by cards. Ms. McAllister, Mr. Daniel Gus, Mr. Hunt, Red Chief Hunt. Yes.
I feel insulted and I disagree with this. Mr. President, this is your district, Council District 10, where you want to take money out of redevelopment projects. That means that's money for housing and things of that nature, and you want to give it to the police to control prostitution. I go to Leimert Park every week. They have a farmer's market, and if the Jews can have their farmer's market all around the city, they don't try to close that one down, okay? If you put some jobs over there, you wouldn't have to worry about prostitution. Now, the real prostitution is going on in District 13 with O'Farrell, right here online, the Snow White Cafe, 6769 Hollywood Boulevard, hang out for prostitutes. La Sagadia at 1159 Northwestern, that's a Hollywood prostitute hangout. The Woods, 1533 North La Brea, no vacancy. This place in Hollywood, 1727 North Hudson. The Big Wangs at 1562 North Cahuenga. Those are all hangouts for prostitution. Now, is prostitution legal for homosexuals and not for heterosexuals? Because we have a very high homosexual prostitution area in the Hollywood district. So don't come and disrespect. When I came to Los Angeles 13 years ago, I asked blacks, where is the black community? And the only thing they could lead me to was Leimert Park. Keep your hands off Leimert Park. They don't prostitute over there. They have their little farmer's market trying to make a few dollars on Sunday, and they're trying to find jobs. So I feel that's an insult to the black community, Mr. President, that you asked for. Now, police, you telling us to give it to the police. Police have a budget of $1,442,553, and you're asking us to give the police $80,000 out of redevelopment for them to go over there and buy some prostitutes themselves.
Okay, if I could have Mr. Gus, followed by Mr. Hunt, followed by Mr. Mohammed. Yes, Mr. Gus.
Okay, council members, who wrote this item? Prostitution enforcement? Excuse me, but isn't prostitution enforcement what pimps do? Maybe. I don't know. I just write for a living, so I'd like to make a friendly amendment. Humor me, Mr. Price. Humor me, Mr. Wesson. Change the word from prostitution enforcement to prostitution prevention. Throw a dog a bone here. Credit the change from prostitution enforcement to prostitution prevention in my honor. Now, you don't need to be spending all this money. Just go on Craigslist, for Christ's sake. It's there. When a massage parlor says, fucky sucky, what do you think that they're advertising? That gives you their address. What do you think fucky sucky means? And go after these karaoke bars in Koreatown because there's liquor violations, there's sex violations, gambling, drugs. It all goes together. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gus. So if I could get Mr. Hunt, Red Chief Hunt, if I can get Mr. Oscar Mohammed, Donna Pierman, and then Miriam will let you close it out. Yes, sir.
The Red Chief Hunt, for the record, that's what the card states. I want to always remind you of that. Just like Mr. Dog, here's what I got to say about prostitution. If we had jobs, it wouldn't be that much prostitution. If you focus on what the real problem is jobs. It's not the people that's prostituting. When you go into one area and say we're going to stop something or we're going to allocate funds for something, that means they're just going to go to another area. It doesn't make any fucking sense. Either you're going to go out there and create jobs, take the $80,000 and give that money to the prostitutes so they can recreate their jobs and their skills. All this trying to arrest them, and it's going to cost us another fucking, what? If we go out there and arrest them, it's going to cost us, what, another $700,000 to put them in jail instead of giving them fucking jobs? You guys are focused on the wrong thing. And this is what I'm saying. You guys are city council people, but you guys don't focus on the right thing. Reconstructing prostitution. Fucking Chief Beck, give them a bar of soap and put them some new clothes on and let them work. Transfer the money into them so that they can develop a business or something. You're focusing on the wrong thing. You have to focus on jobs. This is why they're out there prostituting, because they don't have work. And I don't care how you guys reiterate it. This is why the budget is all fucked up. This is why Chief Beck is all fucked up. The police is raping the women too. They putting guns to their head and going like this: take down your clothes and give me some head. And yet we give them $525,000. You guys haven't did nothing about that. You guys are focusing on the wrong thing. Focus on jobs, not prostitution. Go out there and give them jobs so they won't have to prostitute. That's common sense.
Thank you. And just to clarify a little, this is to deal with trying to go after the pimps and the johns, not the women. So if I could have Mr. Mohammed, followed by Ms. Pearman, followed by Ms. Fogler.
Yeah, but our present government is the enemy, though. We are in a leadership crisis of America today, and we are involved in a political system that is broken and it cannot be repaired. And it seems like the people on the bottom, the victim, they're fingerpointing for all the failures in America, and not not fingerpointing to the
hold Mr. Mohammed's time.
This is what I'm speaking about.
No, I'm just asking you a question. Did you think this was general public comment? Okay, then go ahead. I'm going to let you get there.
Okay,
get to the subject.
All right, thanks. But anyway, I think it's wrong for the mayor to be giving individual money to policemen for individual service. Policemen should serve the people. Downtown Skid Row is flooded with drugs for the homeless. They flooded with all kind of drugs, flooded with all kind of misconduct and every violation you can name. And they're not doing anything about it in the police precinct. And here the mayor talking about giving the policemen so much money for this coded word, and they got the AB something that's coded fund. You don't know what they talking about, and not clear how to open it is, and don't have no set date, no given date where they won't do anything. They always leading us in the dark like we're leading in the blind. But we need more affordable housing for the black females that's stranded that coming out the church house. That is ridiculous. They have everything in their bucket, and they shoving their stuff around living on the street. And they don't have any responsibility from the government to come to them and aid them.
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. Miss Donna Pearman and Miriam, if she's still here.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, yeah, this is Donna. I agree that the police should have overtime if they're doing the work, any work that they do, but I do believe that if the prostitutes had another avenue with other jobs, these pimps wouldn't be able to find prostitutes in the first place. So we have to find a way for these women to find more jobs for women that are not just like in the public service, a lot of areas where they can find work. Then hopefully we can get rid of prostitution, because a lot of these people, women, are doing it because they have to live and they can't find anything else. And so I guess I don't have anything else to say on this issue except that we do have to play. Oh, yeah, one other thing real fast. We can't target just one set of people. So, and then she said, like Jews at the farmer's market, we need to just set up with not saying like one set of people, like all blacks or all Jews or all Hispanics. We don't need to target anybody as a specific. We all need to come together and be together, just like Donald Trump would like. Thank you.
Ms. Fogler. Marion, you're going to try to come down? Take your time.
I concur, Rick, absolutely, that the money should be used for good purpose, but at the same time, we shouldn't be just targeting one group of people because of their race, creed, or religion. And I think that to me is very, very hateful and very anti-Semitic towards people, a certain group of people, and should be stopped, shouldn't be tolerated. You know, we all are human beings. We're all created by God, and we're all here for a purpose. And we're all here to try to make our society better. We don't need that. As far as the funding is concerned on this, we need to focus in on bringing people to have jobs than them focusing on going to prostitution. If there was an alternative way out, they would be going there. I went to a Prop 47 seminar the other day, and it was great. They talked about all the different programs, how to get people situated. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Fogler. Okay, so that should bring us to general public comment. Oh, yeah, well, I do think it's important we should vote. Let's open the roll. Close the roll, tabulate the vote.
15 ayes.
Now that brings us to general public comment. Okay, so what I want to do, I want to call Ms. McAllister, please, Patricia McAllister, and Mr. Walsh, and Mr. Mohammed. Please come forward. And Sarah Valdez, please come forward.
I'd like the city to get involved with the school district. Right now, you have a hands-off policy. We have the second largest school district in the nation. The only reason I can see you have a hands-off policy is some of you stuff in your pockets. Now, as I said, teacher retirement funds are being stolen, and they have been stolen for some years now. Any database administrators out there listening to me live or at a recorded message, what is happening is the database has no integrity. The way the database was set up, teacher assignment codes and teacher status codes can be changed from teachers to non-teachers, and therefore that reduces the service credits, and therefore teachers are being cheated out of their retirement. They're not only being cheated, if they do get retirement, it is greatly reduced. So I did address and contact the governor's office about this some time ago, and I have proof, and I was totally ignored. We need a federal investigation of the Chicago school system and CalSTRS, California State Retirement System. You'll be hearing more. Thank you.
Thank you. So if I can get Mr. Walsh, Mr. Mohammed, Ms. Valdez, and Mr. Hunt, Red Chief Hunt. Yes, Mr. Walsh.
Jay Walsh Confidential, tweeting at Hollywood Dems. A hydrant blew up this morning in the Hollywood Hills. Fantastic damage. I want to thank Mr. Gil Cedillo. I saw him on CNN last night. The whole world was watching as he bravely stood up and was the virtually only Hispanic politician in L.A., or actually a highest-ranking Hispanic politician, to endorse 100% Bernie Sanders. He was under terrible pressure from the mayor and for everyone else. They twisted his arm, but he did the right thing and let people know, because the politically correct is every Hispanic despises Bernie Sanders and they kiss Hillary Clinton's fat ass. Well, that's not true. And from now on, your reward is, for 1 year, I will not make a single criticism about Gil Cedillo.
Okay, Mr. Mohammed, followed by Ms. Valdez, followed by Mr. Hunt, Mr. Red Chief Hunt. Yes, Mr. Mohammed.
In religion and politics, we uphold to have duty. We don't do any duty. But anyway, in 1979, Imam Wajdi Muhammad, Christianity is #1 religion in America. Islam is the second largest religion in America. Imam Wajdi Muhammad is the leader of over 2 million African American people. In 1979, Imam Wajdi Muhammad signed a $24 million contract with the United States Department of Defense. The Muslims are teamed with the Allen A. Change, a Chinese American entrepreneur, to an associate food company that will manufacture and update ration for free ration previously used by the military. The market potential for this new industry is estimated to be worth more than $56 million annually. But the African-American Muslims are rich, and they're moving on. But 40 years ago, the African-American Muslim was excelling, and they're excelling today. Because it seemed like the government...
Thank you, Mr. Mohammed. So if I could get Sarah Valdez, Mr. Hunt, Mr. Daniel Gus, and Mr. Brian Barajas. Daniel, you can just come right on up. And then I'm still looking for Miss Valdez.
Council members, I spent a lovely half hour on KFI this Sunday morning with Elizabeth Espinoza, and I was immediately invited back. We talked about Mr. Wesson running these meetings like a North Korean dictator, losing speaker cards and using police intimidation to silence people. By the way, Mr. Wesson, I'm still waiting for restoration of my time and an apology. On KFI, we discussed Mr. Englander's dismissiveness of sexual harassment lawsuits made against him and his false claim to be a cop. Mr. Englander is not a cop. We discussed on KFI Ms. Martinez's investigation by the FBI for campaign finance fraud. And when I go back on KFI, we will be discussing Los Angeles's falsifying 8,807 pet adoptions and not knowing what became of those animals. Be careful. Me on the radio is not what you want.
Okay. Do we just not have Miss Valdez? Okay, so Mr. Hunt, Mr. Barajas, you can come. You're right there.
Again, the
Yes,
name
sir.
on the card is the Red Chief Hunt. Here's what I really want to talk about. Fucking jobs, fuck Eric Garcetti, fuck Mike Bonin, who doesn't care about the black community in Venice, fuck everybody who haven't said nothing about this lady dying in Metropolitan Jail. That's real. Anytime somebody come up dead in the courts or in Metropolitan Jail, something's wrong. And there's something wrong that the city council don't say any fucking thing about it. This is the fucking problem. You kill a nigga, it's okay. You guys haven't said shit. I want all of those people that was on that shift to get fired, and if not, charged with a 187. Fuck Chief Beck, fuck the city council until they come out and say something about this death in jail. You killing black people? That's why I say fuck the police. Killing young minorities. You think you have the authority to kill young minorities, and you don't. Fuck the police and fuck the city council until they come out and say so.
Thank you. So, Mr. Barajas, Mark Morris, Mr. Previn.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you. Now, I want to make it clear to the American people that the Obama administration has literally saw himself as the treasonous little jerk that he is. Yesterday, the Senate had passed a bill allowing the 9/11 victim families to actually proceed justice on the attacks that happened in Manhattan, New York, which Obama threatens to veto justice to the citizens who were murdered. In other words, what has happened in the United States with the triggering of the Senate's bill passing in the Senate has literally proves that there are good people in our Congress who are motivated enough to proceed with this country's pursuit of the identity that it is. The only threat in the United States is Obama.
Okay, so if I can get, let's keep it down a bit. I want to get Mr. Mark Morris, Mr. Eric Previn, Mr. Zumada. Oh, yeah, there he's in the back.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Mark Morris, and I just wanted to bring attention to one of the items that was voted on today that was introduced by Mr. Englander, and we really do appreciate the care that he put into the lease and into the franchise agreement with Southern California Gas. But there are some of us who have traveled from the San Fernando Valley to actually protest item D in that motion about the 20-year agreement, because we feel that a 20-year agreement with a company that has behaved the way that it has in the last few months is not responsible. And so we would like to ask the City Attorney's Office that in any kind of negotiations or any kind of conversation regarding a 20-year agreement, that the residents of the San Fernando Valley be included in any negotiations, any kind of conversation with the council. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So Mr. Previn, Mr. Dog, Ms. Jacqueline Richardson, and Elena Semper. Mr. Previn?
Yes, thank you. It is Eric Previn from CD2. Every special meeting under the Brown Act requires that the agency take comment from the public. Okay, that is a dispute that we are currently having. I don't know if Dion has told you, between Eric Previn and the City of Los Angeles regarding a different incident. But in advance of tomorrow's budget hearing, I don't want to argue with the professor, because he's obviously very knowledgeable and there is a practice that's in place. But regarding a budget hearing, which we've already stipulated has occurred, we are entitled at a special meeting to address our lovely council. We know that there's going to be dialogue between you, and that's something we always cherish, and comment should be provided appropriately. So I'm hoping that that can be resolved. I asked to speak to Mr. Hale, who is an excellent guy, but he is, of course, unavailable for comment from the public directly, because, and I don't blame him. But let's move forward, sir, in compliance with the Brown Act. And Mr. O'Connell certainly is looking forward to compliance, I can tell from the look on his face. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So if I can get Mr. Zumadog, Ms. Jacqueline Richardson, Elena Semper, and Miriam, you want to try to make your way down? Miriam Fogler. Yes, sir.
Thank you. Oops. Thank you. Zumadog, LACityNow.com. Now, I really have to focus in on this one issue of homelessness. You got to get a hold of the mayor, Eric Garcetti. He hasn't done diddly squat, okay? It needs to be not talking about Olympics, not talking about Super Bowl, talking about the homeless. And as I'm thinking about it, I don't even think the city has the capability to deal with it, Herb, to be honest with you. The wave of, you remember 10 years ago, the wave of homelessness is going to hit you, you're not going to be prepared for. Well, you took all the money and you squandered it and you fraud, waste, abused it. You didn't do a fucking thing about the homeless. Now guess what? Now it's so bad that, like, the Chinese investors are hearing about it. And like, oh, my gosh, we can't have Olympics there. What about the homeless crisis? This is so frustrating. I really don't know what the answer is. You're going to literally have to set up, like, just lockers for people to sleep in like they do in the Chinese bus stations. You're going to have to put these people somewhere. You have no idea what's about to happen. And briefly, the city is not equipped. Call Obama.
Thank you. Thank you. So if I could get Ms. Richardson, Semper, Fogler, and Pierman. Yes, Ms. Richardson.
The Jerry Springer show exposes men that have multiple wives and multiple children. He's been exposing this for years. That's how he makes his living. Some line of men have between 300 and 300 children. The women are not always aware that they're doing this. Usually they get after virgins or people who are near virgins. They impregnate them with the children, and they don't support them. This should be stopped because it's not fair to these young ladies to have to go through all those problem areas. Usually these children do not graduate from high school, and they don't have jobs. Ultimately, they don't have jobs. The Jerry Springer show has been exposing this problem in a certain form, not all the way to 300 children, but less than that for years, and something should be done about these men who are violating these women's bodies.
Thank you. So if I can get, is it Ms. Semper, Ms. Fogler, Ms. Pierman, and then after you would be Carl Wood? Yes, ma'am.
First, I'd like to thank our environmental champions, most recently Councilmember Koretz, for strengthening plans to further reduce greenhouse gases, as well as everyone who helped make that happen. I attended last month's joint energy workshop comprising CEC, PUC, etc., in Woodland Hills. And although I was grateful for the opportunity, the focus on status quo was prevalent. That was until Senator Fran Pavley spoke. Her tangible plan to convert Aliso Canyon from fossil to sustainable is beyond common sense. It's a solution. I'm a longtime Valley resident and have spent a considerable amount of time educating myself on the environment, energy-related government meetings and hearings here in the Valley in LA. I've read the county's clean energy plan, and I'm grateful we're addressing this matter. But prolonging harmful fossil fuels, gas and oil from venting, leaking, off-gassing, fugitive releases, road spills, etc.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So if I can get Ms. Miriam Fogler, Donna Pearman, Carl Wood, and I believe it's a Christina Zilkovich, maybe? Yes, Miriam.
Yes, I'm still pushing in for a Van Nuys video conferencing, and I still want to get that in. The folks here need it badly. But let me tell you something. We need to have jobs created in this country. We need to bring back the companies because we're losing 205 jobs already in the Van Nuys, near the Van Nuys airport. So I want Donald Trump. I think he's the most viable, and he's got a lot of success. He's hired the most women in his companies. He's the best. And I think that he's a very determined man, very ambitious, and I think we're going to be going way ahead now with him. And I think that a lot of people in this country are going to be employed. We're going to have the unemployment going down, and we're going to have less homelessness. We're going to have a lot of people going back to work. Thank God for Donald Trump. Thank you.
Thank you. If I could get Ms. Pearman, Carl Wood, Christina Zilkovich, maybe, and do we still have Margaret Malloy? Go ahead, Ms. Pearman.
Anyone but England for a county supervisor. This is the time we must stand up for democracy. Bernie Sanders is not the way to go. Look at the countries who practice socialism. Long waiting for medical procedures, long wait for medicines, housing, systems only for the super rich and the extremely poor. Socialism is not the way to go. Hitler's party. Hillary is a continuation of Obama's bad legacy. They deal favorably with terrorists. Iran deal. Failed Obama plans. Hillary, what have you done for women lately? Look at the Clinton Foundation that gave money for countries that deal horribly with women. That's what you did for women. Vote for Donald Trump. Make America great again. Bring back jobs. Lower taxes for the middle class. Keep America safe from terrorists. That's what we need to do. That's why we need to go over there and vote for Donald Trump. We can't have the Democrat Party because the Democrat Party is just going after failed policies after failed policies after failed policies. We have been getting more and more and more in debt and more problems for the people.
Thank you. Thank you. So if I can get Mr. Wood, followed by, no, you're going to close, Miss Christina Zinkovich, no. Margaret Malloy, no. And President Julius, you're going to close. So you'll be today's closer. Yes, sir.
Hi, I am unofficially representing a lot of artists, athletes, musicians, visionaries, and general public that are already using the G2 parcel of Taylor Yard. If you haven't been there, I recommend that you go and see what this place is about. It's a big, expansive, insulated place from the city. And we're already doing things like running, jumping obstacle courses, hiking, building things out of leftovers from the river, and we're doing a lot of things. We're enjoying the space, and it means a lot to have a place like that to go. And I'm leading drum circles out there with inner city youth, and I want to continue that. So please purchase Taylor Yard. We need it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. President Julius, the podium is yours.
Thank you, mein Führer. Herr Wilson. Trump is El Chapo's bitch. He's a coward, man. We don't need another coward for president. Legalize prostitution. Stop the gynophobia. Stop hating on the cunt. Stop demonizing the cunt. Female sexuality. Herb, stop your gynophobia. Stop fearing the cunt. Put the cunt on the LA city flag. boxer. She's a fucking traitor. She's working for ISIS, literally working for ISIS with Obama, making it very likely that ISIS will destroy L.A. with a nuclear terrorist weapon. That is not a joke, Herb. I can't believe you honored that fucking cunt here in City Hall. L.A. is a city of rape. Come to L.A., we'll let Bill Cosby rape you if you're poor, not if you're rich. Thank you very much.
Thank you. That concludes general public comment. Okay, what is, Madam Clerk, before this body?
Council has motions for posting and referral.
They are posted and referred. Mr. Koretz is introducing a motion to make sure, President Julius, you don't wear those shorts to council anymore. It'll get a unanimous vote. Let's all rise if there are no announcements. Thank you, Mr. Koretz. Mr. Bonin.
Thank you. Whoa. Thank you, Mr. President.
Hey, come on now. Come on, Mr. Julius.
Wow. Friday morning, for the first time in 63 years, people can get on a train in downtown Los Angeles and take it all the way to the beach. The Metro Expo line is opening Friday morning. Rides will be free on Friday and on Saturday. It will go from downtown it has gone to Culver City for the past several years. It'll go now all the way through Mr. Koretz's district, through my district, and a few stops in Santa Monica. We'll stop just a few blocks from the beach. Also on Saturday morning at each of the new stops, there will be a party and a celebration. The one at the station in my district, Expo Bundy, will be from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on Saturday. There'll be live music, food trucks, a bounce house, free giveaways, and there's a particular theme to it, which is bicycling as well, how you can bicycle, take your bike on the Expo line. Looking forward to seeing everybody on the train.
Thank you. Any other announcements? Mr. Rue?
Thank you, Mr. President. After you go on the Expo line, I'd like to... May is Asian Heritage Month, and we are having the Pacific Bridge concert, the closing concert, and my office, in coordination with the Mayor's office and the Board of Public Works, is hosting the citywide Asian Pacific Heritage Month closing events and ceremony on the steps of City Hall on Spring Street. We'll have live music, food, fun, and festivities. It's from 7 to 10 p.m. Encourage everybody to take the Metro or Uber, Lyft, however you want to get here. And each of the council offices should have gotten invitations to the VIP reception at the City Hall Rotunda, which starts at 5:30. But we encourage the public. It's a free concert, open to the public.
Thank you very much. Members, any other announcements? Mr. Buscaino?
Thank you. Tomorrow's National Ride Your Bike to Work Day. So, Mr. President, I don't know, what's your commute like? Unfortunately, we're going to be here for budget tomorrow. So
you get a bicycle built for two and come pick me up.
Let's do a tandem. Yes, sir. So I'll be riding my bike to work on Friday morning, the 23-mile trek. We don't have transit down there, but we have extended, thanks, Mike, the Silver Line down to San Pedro. But it'll be, if you want to join me, Mitch, I know you're a big bike rider. Come on down Friday morning. Kick it off the San Pedro Municipal Building to downtown City Hall. And I'll shower, yes, at the police station, Mike, just I know. Just for yeah, it's a trek. Thank you.
Any more announcements? Now, Mr. Koretz.
Yes, number one, I encourage people to attend the event that Mr. Rue mentioned and take a taxi down there. Now, and I also want to note that in my district, the event to celebrate the opening of the expo will be at the Palms National Station from 10 to 4, and we'll actually have a little bit of a program at 11 o'clock.
Okay, any more announcements? We called your name for public comment. No, we're getting ready to adjourn. Your name is called you twice. You have to be here. So if all could please rise for adjourning motions. If everyone in the chambers could please rise. I'm going to look to my right side. Mr. Koretz.
Thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, it is with sadness and reverence that I ask that we adjourn today in memory of Priscilla Valdez, who passed away on May 8th, 2016. She was a person treasured by countless people who deeply loved her and cared for her family, community, and humanity. Qualities that are also wonderfully embodied in her grandson, Derek Mazzio, who is joining us here today. I'm sure most of you or all of you know Derek, who is the mayor's state and LAUSD liaison. Priscilla was born on April 2nd, 1930 in Bernardillo, New Mexico, to Juan and Clara Garcia. She had a younger brother, Johnny, who is deceased. When Priscilla was 12 years old, her family moved to a small home at 1032 East 10th Street in what's now the Fashion District downtown. She attended Bishop Conady Our Lady of Loreto High School in Harvard Heights. In 1946, she met Al Valdez at a birthday party for Al's cousin, who was also Priscilla's classmate and friend. They were married on September 24th, 1950. They had two daughters, Darlene and Liz. The family moved to Norwalk, California until 1958, when they purchased a new home in La Mirada, where they've resided for the last 58 years. Priscilla worked for nearly 15 years at Security First National Bank at 6th and Spring Street downtown. And when her father was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease, she left the work world to be at home with her family. Priscilla later returned to work in 1986 as an adult education teacher, teaching vocational and ESL courses at LAUSD campuses across LA, and she retired in 1995. She was a devout Catholic, loved her church, had a tremendous amount of faith all of her life, and never missed Mass, and always told her daughters that if she hadn't met and fallen in love with her father, she would have become a nun. Among her other joys in life were cooking for her family, especially Mexican food for her beloved grandson Derek, gardening and making floral arrangements. She enjoyed her home and always found comfort being there surrounded by her loved ones. At the time of her untimely death, she had been married to Al for almost 66 years, and they were part of each other's lives for almost 70 years. Priscilla was a wife, mother, grandmother, mother-in-law, and friend. She will remain immortal to those who loved her and those whom she loved. She is survived by her husband Al, daughters Darlene and Liz, grandson Derek, and son-in-laws Bob and Leonard. May she rest in peace.
Continuing to look to my right side. I don't see any. Now I'm going to the left, Mr. Harris Dawson's side. I don't see any additional adjourning motions. Members, this meeting is adjourned.